Right. Good evening, everybody. How are you tonight? Happy Thursday. It's hard to believe, but we're at Thursday already. So I think as we continue our trend, as we're going to be supporting women from history all month long, I think we should just a general shout out to every woman everywhere. Wi-Fi came from women. GPS, Bluetooth, windshield wipers, home security systems came from women. Kevlar, telecommunications, aquariums, treatments for malaria, automatic dishwashers, computer programming, coffee filters came from women. Space station power, liquid paper bags, foot pedal trash cans, Monopoly, signal flares, circular saws, retractable dog leashes came from women. Invisible glass, computers, chocolate chip cookies, and you and me and all of us came from women. Hat tip. We will continue to do this through the rest of this month as we celebrate Women's History Month. Thank you, everybody, for joining. A couple of announcements we'll make a little bit later. Anthony will be little bit late to the party tonight, but he'll be here. There's a gifting goal this evening. There's also some new links that are now in the link tree in my bio, including merch. Yes, there is merch available. It's hard to believe, but there is some in there. In particular, there's some coffee mugs with "Tell your wife I said hi." "What's for dinner? Nobody cares," and "I appreciate you." Those are all available, and the store is live. The link is the first link in my link tree. There's also some support apps for what Anthony and I do, and there's also a petition in there that I think you can reach out to your senators and sign the petition to keep TikTok from being taken away from us, because that should be on everybody's mind. All right, let's sort of jump in. We've got a lot of news to cover off on, and we'll get to tonight's topic in a little bit. But the walls are closing in on the Donald. His payment is due. Time to pay the ferryman. That comes up on Monday, and it looks like from the rumblings that he doesn't have it. Well, we know that, obviously. But more importantly, he's faced with a dilemma, right? Could file for bankruptcy, which he's done many, many times. How does that look in an election year? Don't know. The other side of that coin would be that he does not want Letitia James rolling up and taking the keys to the car, so to speak, because she's already identified, I think it's Seven Springs and some other properties in Manhattan that are the first on her list. Now, I was reading a little bit about this earlier today, and Monday midnight comes, and that may not be the end. It may not be break of dawn on Tuesday morning where things get seized, but there's like a continuation process, and we know from Trump's rhetoric in the past, that's kind of his game. That's exactly what he'll do when the time comes, if necessary. But we'll see. I think the larger question is, what's the plan? And ironically enough, Alina Habba, his attorney, she was asked this question during some interviews, and I forget where, but she would not give a definitive answer about accepting foreign money. That's an interesting take, I must say. You're telling people that you are not definitively saying we wouldn't take foreign money from whomever. Don't forget, Viktor Orban was just at Mar-a-Lago, so we don't know what's going to happen there. But I do find it interesting. Why wouldn't you just say we're not going to take foreign money? I mean, even though many people think that you probably will, but why wouldn't you say that? So again, the illusion is that you're some patriot, and yet you're willing to open up your pockets for foreign money. I think that's pretty obvious. So there's I sort of tracked this down today, and I just kind of wanted to share this with you. But we know his super PAC is paying. Actually, before we start, please tap and share, guys. Would really appreciate that. I mentioned there's a gifting goal. There are some pay features if you want to support the channel in Linktree my bio, and also in my bio there is merch. We'll be talking about that throughout the evening. I would really appreciate that. There's sweatshirts and T-shirts and stickers and coasters and coffee mugs and the whole 9 yards. So anyway, thank you in advance. I'll bring a mod up in a second and we'll talk about rules for the night, but back to him. So the super PAC that he has, the Save America PAC or whatever it might be, is broke because they're shelling out more money than they're taking in. February, they paid $6.7 million in legal fees, or roughly $230,000 a day. $60 million spent in legal fees in 2020 this year, in the last year, and $90 million total. Small donors are drying up. They're spending more than they're taking in. Same is happening at the RNC. He's paying his lawyers with the money that his cult is donating, and 65%, when asked, said that they would continue to do that. They would continue to give. Again, think about the Trump voter, right? Blue collar, hardworking folk, whatever that might be, and they're giving their money to a billionaire. A billionaire. Make sense of that. So we'll see how things go for this guy going forward. But Monday's going to come and he's going to rage. He's going to rage and rage and rage. And I don't know what's going to happen to his psyche. Tonight, we're going to jump in and talk about just a disturbing trend that I've yet to really been able to figure out. But it looks like we may have a guest already. So I'll be happy to do that first before we dive in a little bit deeper. If I can figure this out. There we go. Sorry. Stand by. User error, as is always the case. Okay, there we go. I'll bring up.
Hello, friend.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Why is it always somebody texts me as soon as I get in here? Anthony just said he'll be in 20 minutes.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yep.
I'm okay. I watched some dog videos last night.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a dog. His name is Trapper, and his buddy's name is... I have to send it to you.
Okay.
He buried his nose under the fence, and the other mom called it emotional manipulation. They actually built a door in the fence so the dogs can go back and forth and play. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
So how about our rules, Nikki?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
It's been a day. Hi guys. So first of all, tap the screen. Let's get up to 15,000. It'd be great if we could just keep tapping. You can tap on Fax's face. You can tap anywhere you want. When Anthony gets up, yeah, the beard, whatever. So let's get that going. Share the live. Where he's on his main account today, so it's plenty of people that it can go out to. That should bring in a lot of good traffic today. Please don't type in caps down in the bottom. It's the way that the mods and I all communicate, and the way we talk to Fax and Anthony when they're up here. So it's an easy way for us to just catch our attention. So please do refrain from doing that. We will warn you once, and then you'll get muted. So please just try to be respectful of that. There is no hate speech, period. End of story. There is no warning for hate speech. You will be muted or you will be blocked, depending on what it is. There is no spamming. There is no misinformation. Those you will be warned, and then you'll be muted for a certain amount of time. Any hate speech for anybody up in the box, whether you agree with them or not, is not acceptable. And especially with the topic today, I'm just going to let you know that any hate speech towards a veteran, telling them that they have stolen valor or anything like that, will be immediately muted for the live. You don't do that towards veterans, especially when you're sitting down in that position. Who decides hate speech? We do. This isn't a democracy. The conversation up here with the guys, they're the smartest guys I know. I've told them about this all the time. They're also probably the most chill guys to talk to. So you can match energy with them. They're very willing to have a conversation. We've got people down in the chat that can tell you the exact same thing, that are opposites, and they've come up and had wonderful conversations. If you have information, bring it up with you from a reliable source. Google is not a source, it's a search engine, but if you have a website or anything like that, you can bring it up with you. and we can see if we can get it for you, or you can bring it up and we can put it on the screen for you. Legitimate sources are always welcome, and everybody's always, interested in definitely more information if you had anything. The mods and I are all down there to answer questions. Any questions you have, we are more than happy to answer. If you have an issue, if somebody's causing an issue, we all have our little thing next to us, so you can get a hold of us. Just tap on one of us, and we'll do that. Be respectful and
Thank you, Nikki.
have a wonderful night.
Thank you, friend.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you.
I appreciate you too.
All right. So, our topic this evening, we touched on it briefly, and I really want to try to understand, because I don't get it, how you can, after all we know and all we've seen and all we've heard, and the lack of respect that Donald Trump has showed towards veterans, calling them suckers and losers, mocking Gold Star families, calling John McCain, not referring to him as a war hero because he got captured, and yet so many still support. So I don't see how you could honor your oath and still support that person. This is a topic that's very important to Anthony, and I'm sure he'll have many things to say about it this evening. We will try to address this. I do want you to know that you will be questioned. We do want to hear from you. Maybe there's something that we're missing, but I think it's an important topic for us to have. I do want to ask you guys again to tap and share. Let's try to drive some traffic, and let's see where things go tonight. Good evening, Rick.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you this evening?
Good. I'm a veteran of 21 years in the Army, okay?
Mhm.
And I find veterans for Trump are traitors to their oath. I could say same thing about Biden followers, you know what I mean?
Really?
That's their problem. Everybody's saying this guy's bad, that guy's bad. I just don't see it. And as far as calling me a traitor or anybody who's a veteran a traitor, we're probably the most patriotic Americans you're going to find out.
Did you vote for Donald Trump?
I did.
Okay. So help me understand. Help me understand then, if for somebody who says that you're patriotic, but yet the former commander in chief refers to you as suckers and losers,
I
or
don't pay
mocks
attention to that.
or mocks John McCain,
I
or
don't.
mocks
That,
Gold
that,
Star
that's kind of,
families.
I agree with you there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. On that part, I don't agree with Trump at all. Okay, and I'm not a sucker, and I'm not a loser.
I
And
didn't say you were. He did.
no. I'm repeating what you said that Trump said.
Right.
I have a problem with some of the things he does, and he's done some good things for our country too. Okay,
Okay.
I'm
Well,
not.
let's. So
I'm
can
not
you
going to
tell me
bring
something?
back.
Can you tell me something good that he's done for the country, Rick?
Well, our inflation rate wasn't that high when he was president. Our gas is
Okay.
like our gas prices weren't.
Okay. Do you understand? Why were gas prices high? Do you know?
Say that again.
Why are gas prices higher now than they were under Trump? Do you know?
Well, because Biden within an hour, I don't have proof to bring this up right now, but Biden within an hour of being president stopped all the drilling.
So how I find that interesting though, Rick, because we're drilling more oil now than we ever have at any point in our history. Did you
Well,
know that?
I didn't know that. Okay,
Okay,
but
would you take my word for that, or would you like me
yes,
to
I will.
provide a source for you?
No, you don't have to buy it for it. You seem like a nice guy,
I
and I
try.
don't
Thank you.
and I don't want to start trouble with other people because
Yeah,
that ain't me.
no, we're here to learn.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't doubt you. Okay,
Okay.
I can look it up later. I don't want to argue with over one subject. Okay.
Okay.
Thing about it is I don't see how veterans that are for Trump are traitors to their oath. We could say the same thing about Joe Biden.
Okay, but I gave you some examples.
I know.
Like
I
so
understand what you're saying.
right. So and don't forget, Joe Biden's son Beau served our country honorably, and then unfortunately lost his life due to being exposed to burn pits. So who do you think has more grace and appreciation of vets, Joe Biden or Donald Trump?
That's a hard one because I don't agree with a lot of
Is it
Biden.
hard though, Rick? Is it really that hard?
Yeah, it is because okay, I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
We got hit about 127 times 3 people died, and then they decided to bomb some of these people from that Iran was backing. Okay, my feeling is we should have gone right the gut, hit every one of their oil or as many oil fields that they had, bomb the heck out of them. What I found as a veteran, I find that when you let our people get hurt or die, and that's what he did. I mean, you could disagree with me, but that's what he did, especially those 3 people. In Afghanistan, Afghanistan's another point of view.
Well, let's take one thing at a time, Rick.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
we can
sorry.
we can talk. It's okay. We can talk about Afghanistan, but I want to go back to. So, do you think words matter? Like, do you think words are important?
Sometimes.
Okay, so when Donald Trump calls for General Milley to be unalived,
I think
he,
that's wrong.
okay. So once again, you've agreed with me on a few things. You agreed with me that
Oh, yeah.
he shouldn't have called veterans suckers and losers.
No.
You agreed with me that he shouldn't threaten to unalive General Milley. You know,
Yes.
you agreed with me on a whole bunch of other things, and you've
Yeah,
not
of
yet
course.
been able to give me. Let me just finish. You've not yet been able to give me any examples of what Joe Biden has said about veterans or
Okay.
people who serve. Don't
He
forget,
did.
Joe Biden. Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Joe Biden administration passed the PACT Act, which allows veterans who've been exposed to burn pits treatment. So I guess my question for you is because when we're talking specifically about language and we're talking specifically about who better supports vets, I don't see you ever willing to accept the things that Donald Trump did. Instead, you want to try to pivot to Joe Biden, but you're not talking about Joe Biden in regards to veterans.
Well,
So
okay.
so help me understand that, Rick. Help me
Okay,
understand that.
that's what I'm trying to do. Okay.
Okay.
Look at Afghanistan at the Abbey Gate. 13 people died,
Sure.
and
It's awful.
he walked away from their families.
No, he didn't.
Remember that?
No, he didn't.
He did.
No, he didn't, Rick.
He's done a
No.
lot of things that I don't agree with. Heck,
Well, why? So what happened in Afghanistan? Do you know what happened?
well, yeah, he gave all our number one. He gave all our troops, and that was it. That 13 died. The 13
Unalive.
people died at the
13 lost
Abbey
their
Gate.
lives. It's horrible, tragic loss of life, right?
Yeah,
So
and
were you critical of Donald Trump during his administration when soldiers lost their lives in Afghanistan?
actually, no, because we were still at war with Afghanistan.
Weren't we at war when we were pulling out? Weren't we still at war?
I don't know because he left a lot of people there. He did that,
So
not anybody.
so Rick, what I want to call out, what I want to
Okay,
call out right now is I feel like I'm going to ask you a frank question, and I'm hoping you can be honest with me. Okay,
I will.
where do you get your news from, Rick? The majority of your news, where do you get it from?
Make a lot of times just like ABC or we got a little channel over here. I get some of that. I get some other newspapers.
Okay,
You know,
so if I told you I think it's 65 is the number that lost their lives under Donald Trump. Were you at all critical of that? Because the reason I'm asking is because to pivot to say, well, we were at war then, but yet we were still in Afghanistan and soldiers were unfortunately lost their lives. But do you understand who was responsible for drawing down our troops in Afghanistan to the level that they were?
Trump did,
Right,
and
right.
then
So
Biden
Trump
took
did,
over.
and then Trump set the plan for pullout. And I agree. I don't think it was handled as well as it could have, but the plan was already in place. And I'll remind you, who released 5,000 Taliban prisoners?
That oh, Trump, I believe.
Correct, Rick. So you're kind of walking into the point here. Um, I I I just find it troubling. Now we can go back to the documents case where he's sharing information with people who don't have access to classified information. He's sharing war plans with people who don't have the right to see them, which in theory could put soldiers at lives at risk, right?
Yes, but how about Biden? Nobody, anybody
Well, you
that I
just
know.
pivoted. Well, Rick, you just pivoted though. You
Well,
just pivoted away
okay.
from that. Okay,
I
you
don't know.
pivoted
I
away,
agree
right?
with what you're saying,
Okay,
but
so
now I want to give you the reason, something else too.
sure.
You're pushing on Trump, but Biden did the same thing. He
What did he
showed
do?
What do you remember? He showed some autobiographer secret documents. That was out.
He, he didn't though.
Oh, I'm going to ask you to believe me there. He did
Well,
because the
have you? Oh,
biographer
so
that.
how about this? How about this? Have you read the Her report? Have you read that?
Yep.
You read the whole thing.
No, not the whole thing. No.
Okay, so what part of it did you read?
Well, I read the part where where they didn't want to get him. At least since I heard this on TV and read it in the newspaper, that he was old and didn't have a good memory, and that's why they didn't get him. That's why they didn't
No,
get anything
actually,
on Biden.
the transcript actually stated differently. So the transcript from that actual report. So when I say the transcript, the actual interview. So they compiled all this information, and that came out
Okay.
afterwards. In fact, there was a line in that transcript where Robert Hur said, "Mr. Biden, you seem to have photographic recall of your house." So would you say somebody has a bad memory if you think they had photographic recall?
Okay, and I got a question for you.
Wait a minute, just answer that question first.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
if
you
he
would.
does, but he couldn't remember. He could remember important things. So, like he was vice president.
No,
What?
he remembered that as well. It's again, that's very clearly stated in there. Very clearly
Well,
stated. So Rick,
most of
I
that
don't
stuff.
think you read it. So the reason I
I
want to call
didn't.
that out is because I want to
I
read you
didn't.
something. Okay, I want to read you something. So this is in the Her report, which I've read numerous times. So I'm not sure if you did. So
I did not.
I feel like you. Okay, thank you for admitting that. I appreciate that, Rick. So on page 254, for those of you who want to follow along at home, it says, "It is not our role." This is from Mr. Her's report because you
Okay.
referenced it. Okay, you referenced it, so I'm just going to read you something from the actual report.
Go ahead.
This is not a news story. This is literally from the report. Okay.
I go with that.
Okay, page 254. "It is not our role to assess the criminal charges pending against Mr. Trump, but several material distinctions between Mr. Trump's case and Mr. Biden's are clear. Unlike the evidence involving Mr. Biden, the allegations set forth in the indictment of Mr. Trump, if proven, would clearly establish not only Mr. Trump's willfulness, but also serious aggravating facts. Most notably, after being given multiple chances to return classified documents and avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite. According to the indictment, which I don't think you probably read either, Rick, but according to the indictment, he not only refused to return documents for months, but he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it. In contrast, Mr. Biden alerted authorities, turned in classified documents to the National Archives and the DOJ in 2022 and 2023, consented to the search of multiple locations, his homes, permitted the seizure and review of handwritten notebooks he believed to be his personal property, and in numerous other ways cooperated with the investigation." Now, Rick, by hearing that, the statement that you made was that Joe Biden did the same thing. That report from Robert Hur, again, the one that you cited, clearly says that's not the case at all.
But okay, can I respond to somebody that wrote some down here?
We're talking. Ignore the chat.
Okay, but Rick read nothing, and I admitted that. I heard on Fox, Blue Granny, you don't know me, so please don't criticize me. Okay, I
Okay, so that
admitted
so
I
okay.
admitted that I didn't
So
read it. I don't know why people are knocking me for that. Okay,
well, yeah. Again, but don't forget, I initially asked you that question if you'd read it, and you said you did. You read some of it. So let's just
I
again,
was
let's just be
familiar with
honest,
it.
right? Okay, let's just be honest because but so you probably didn't know what I just read existed, did you?
That's the first time I heard it like that.
Okay. So then does that paint a clearer picture for you that
Yes.
actually these two cases are extremely different? And don't forget,
Yeah,
Robert Hur was appointed to his post as U.S. attorney by Donald Trump.
I know. But I
Okay.
got a question for you, okay? If I can ask
Sure.
you.
Sure.
Can I bring Joe Biden up? Now
Sure.
they found documents that he got through his skiff when he was senator. We're going back
No,
now.
Rick.
Okay,
No.
he did.
Once
It out.
again, that's not true.
Well, where were the documents found? In his garage, in his Corvette, and
That's
other
that's
places. That's
that's
true.
right.
Okay.
Right, that is true, Rick. But again, what we're talking about here is the summation, the summary that Mr. Hur made in his report about the fact that the the difference between what Donald Trump did and what Joe Biden did is that Joe Biden, similarly to Mike Pence, cooperated, and Donald Trump did not.
I'll agree there.
So Donald
Okay.
Trump obstructed justice, Rick.
He did. I agree.
He lied to authorities. He signed statements that said, I've turned over everything, only to find out that
He
he
did.
didn't turn over everything. And some of the information that they recovered that he lied about to cover up was national defense information, top secret information, battle plans. We also know that he shared that with people. We learned just last week that he shared information with an Australian billionaire about our submarines. So
Yeah, I heard that
again,
too.
Rick,
I didn't see that, but I heard it.
okay, well, here's the problem, right? So you've I feel like you've made a decision that you're going to vote for Donald Trump again. If you took an oath of the Constitution to preserve, protect, and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
Yep.
I would say to you that Donald Trump is a domestic terrorist, that he's a threat to national security. Because if he was doing this then as president, what's to say he wouldn't do it again?
I'm not going to disagree with you on that. Okay. You know I'm an honest person. When I'm wrong, I tell you I'm wrong. Thing about it I don't like is veterans for Trump are traitors to their oath. I don't get where we're traitors to the oath.
Well, we just been talking about that for the past 15 minutes. That's
Well,
kind of why, Rick.
yeah,
Because
but
you
you know
took an
what?
oath. You took an oath to the Constitution. You didn't take an oath to Donald Trump.
No,
You
I
took an
didn't.
oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
Yep.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I believe that Donald Trump is a domestic enemy. So therefore, that's why I believe that if you took an oath, that you were a traitor to your oath.
But that's your opinion. Okay.
Perhaps it is, but I
Yeah.
guess I would ask you. I guess I would ask you to really reevaluate, because we know these are the things that we know, Rick. These are just the things that we know.
I
Okay.
go with that.
So, and then there's so many other things that we don't know. I mean, don't
Yeah.
forget, Donald Trump is broke. He can't pay this $500 million fine, which makes
I
him
know.
vulnerable. Which makes him vulnerable, right?
Yeah, but
It's just,
I gotta say one thing.
okay.
I don't like the way that he was tried in New York for that. And the reason I say that, I saw the judge call him guilty before he was even tried. And he wasn't tried by a jury. And that woman who the woman DA who's against him, I guess her name was James, I don't remember her first name. But she said out loud she was gonna go after him.
How about
And
this though, Rick? How about the fact that he committed fraud?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he did because
All right,
was
here's a
hurt,
question for you then.
who was
Okay,
hurt
let me
by
ask you
it?
this question. Okay, well, again, let's focus on this. Good evening, Anthony.
Okay, go
Let's
ahead.
focus on this, Rick. Right? If you were to go and try to take out a loan, right?
Yep.
And you were asked to list your assets, and
Yep.
you lied about it, and then you signed that document, what would you call that?
You're breaking the law.
Fraud, right?
Right. Well, yeah,
That's
technically.
that's
But,
it's not technically. That's what Donald Trump did, Rick. That's what he did.
well,
That's why it's fraud.
that's what was said, but there's a lot of
No,
people
that's what
going
he
against
did.
it.
That's what he did. So once again,
Yeah, but I got a question. Can I
okay,
ask you this real quick? I don't mean to cut you off, but
it's all right.
um, now the thing about it is, who did he hurt? He didn't hurt anybody.
But he did, Rick.
Who?
He hurt the citizens of New York. He hurt the banks. Yes, I realize that they got their money back, but we're talking about
Yes,
fraud, Rick.
they got their
Okay?
money back.
Right, but we're talking about fraud. The example that I gave you earlier, and you admitted, right?
I'll go
You
along with it.
admitted that if you hold on, you admitted that if you signed an attestation statement or a document where you're swearing that by signing this, everything here is factual, right? And
You're right. You're correct.
so that is fraud, Rick. That's a crime.
But see,
So have you ever asked yourself, have you ever been able to step back for just a second and ask yourself, okay, what that guy did is fraud, instead of constantly trying to defend what he did without being able to defend it?
well, yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe I need to think things over a little bit. Okay.
That would be great.
I mean, you know,
That would be great.
but you know what? I listened to what you had to say, and didn't really argue with you, because I go on some things and talk about a lot of things. Okay. And my wife is skimming the room and calm me down.
I
Okay.
got you. I got you.
Another guy. We're good.
Thank you, Rick.
She worries because we're in here, because I'm in here, and she knows I get upset.
I
But
understand, but just
you're
again, I think it's
respectful.
really important that you try to get your news from other places, Rick, because I feel like you're being indoctrinated a little bit into things that are
I
just
might be.
covering up the truth.
I might be.
Okay,
But I listen to you, or I wouldn't be saying this. You know, so
appreciate that.
you know, so far I've been truthful and respectful, and I always will be, because
Appreciate that.
you're not jumping over me, and you're not calling me a liar. And, I don't get where anybody, I may be misguided, but I'm not saying lies. I kind of.
Didn't say you're lying. I just don't think you. I don't think you've been told the truth.
Hold on.
Oh,
Nah, Murph, be quiet. I got a big, I got a big Saint Bernard in the same room on that. But no, you didn't say that. I wasn't assuming you did, but some people say that we're lying or whatever. You know, and I don't get a chance to, disagree or agree because they're talking over me and screaming and using the F word. I don't see any use in that. You're not going to change my mind if you're that way.
yeah.
And
Well,
I'm not.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
Anthony's a veteran, and I know he has. We've talked a lot, and I know that this is a very sensitive topic for Anthony. Again, Rick, I guess what we want to ask you is, if as a reminder that you took an oath to the Constitution, and you might love Trump, you might love him, you might worship him, you might think he's
No,
the greatest person ever, but as a vet who took an oath to the Constitution, you cannot be naive to ignore what he's done.
I'm
It
not.
literally goes against the oath that you took.
Yeah, but you're calling him a domestic terrorist, and I don't.
All enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah, but he didn't bomb or kill anybody. That I know.
All enemies, foreign and domestic. Rick,
Yeah, but you gotta just look at it. Who's to say he's a domestic terrorist because he did quite a few things wrong? I'm gonna admit
go
it.
ahead. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah.
This is really simple, and I've on the drive home I was listening to you, Rick. So one, thanks for your service. Go Navy, beat Army. Um,
I don't have to do up a bit.
yeah, that's the running Army Navy joke is the football game, right? Although Army's been kicking our ass the last few years.
Yeah, man.
I,
You
I
just
think
rushed your too. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I think this is a pretty simple thing, right?
Okay.
And I'm gonna break it down to a simple statement, right?
Okay.
Donald Trump is the antithesis of our oath because he doesn't have courage, he doesn't have honor, and he doesn't have commitment.
Honor duty country. I get you.
Yep. And so because he doesn't even listen, the fact that he was a draft dodger, I can let go because a lot of men didn't want to go to Vietnam, and fine, I get that. But the way he drafted or dodged his draft obligations was because of his wealth and his privilege, not because he was against the war. And then he goes around acting like a tough guy, right?
Yeah,
And
I can't.
acting like he deserves some kind of respect. What did you learn? What did you learn in the military about respect being earned?
Yep. To get
Right?
respect, you gotta give respect.
There you go. He
Okay.
does not respect us. Therefore, I don't give a single F about him because of the behavior he exhibits toward us, because of the way he uses us as a political prop and
I agree.
not to help us. And that's why when I see what's in my background, that's why I say to people, if you vote and support Donald Trump as a veteran, you have failed your oath. When you fail your oath, you're a traitor. Now, I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying that's the entry level I start at. And then what I tried to do is I tried to get people to understand the man is not worthy of our praise, our friendship, our money, our time, because you and I have done something that less than 2% of the entire United States population has ever done, and that's been dumb enough to raise our hand and join the military. Right? There's no bravery in that. Boot camp is well, probably a little bit easier than it was when you and I went through boot camp. But
Yeah.
it's still an adjustment, right? Donald Trump has never done anything but been born into a wealthy family, has been given everything. He's never earned a single thing, but he thinks guys like you and me should support him, right?
Really?
And it just really it breaks my heart when I talk to my brothers and sisters out there and they worship this man. Nowhere in the oath does it talk about doing anything but defending the Constitution.
Yeah.
Right. So I hope you come back and talk to us again. I hope we continue to have these conversations. And I can't ask anything of you because we're not related. But let's just pretend for today we're related and that you're my Uncle Rick.
Well, we're brothers.
I would ask my Uncle Rick to really reflect on honor, duty, and country, and think about, does Donald Trump represent that to you? And who would you rather have represent you? A man whose son actually served in the military and then unfortunately passed because he got cancer while working near a burn pit? Or a guy that calls us suckers and losers and told the former chief of staff of the entire United States military he wished he was unalived?
I don't think that's right. I gotta agree with you there. Like I said, I gotta read up a little bit, and I gotta think things through. Okay.
And come back, because I want to continue this conversation with you, Rick.
Please come back.
I appreciate you, man.
By the way, thank you for your service too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, some people thank us just because everybody thanks veterans and stuff, and I if you really mean it, that's fine. You know what I mean?
That's right. Well, Rick, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Just to Anthony's point, and I'll reiterate, just do some thinking, and we're here. We do this every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll be happy to have these conversations with you because it's that important.
Yep.
Well, then maybe I probably need to, as respect for our friend over there, for respect for you, and for me, I gotta think things over. Okay.
Appreciate that, brother.
Appreciate you, Rick.
Well, I appreciate our conversation, and my wife probably did too, because there's a lot of respect, and I wasn't screaming. Because the other night I was talking to somebody, and they didn't present to me like you did, but these people are cutting me off and screaming and threatening to mute me, and trying to say and block me. And I went to I said, I don't got a right to speak what I feel, but you do. I don't get that. You two respect me enough to hear me out. Okay, and that is very much appreciated.
Same here. It's mutual. You showed us respect. We showed you respect in reverse, and we're just hoping that you can, again, like you said, do a little bit more research, and we can help. If you're willing to learn, we'll do our best to try to help.
I'm willing to learn.
Excellent. We'll come back anytime, Rick. We appreciate you, brother.
I don't know if you guys heard this. The guy started at 1:00. He's a black gentleman, and they call him the handsome liberal. Okay.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That man, people attack him for being mega support and everything else, and all he tries to do is get everybody, like you were trying to do, to understand from all points of view. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't get why they attack him like that. I just don't. I
have some theories, but we'll save that for another day.
Okay, I think I know where you're headed, but that's okay. I really appreciate your time, and everybody being respectful of each other. That's what I do.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate you.
Thank you. You guys have a great day, okay?
You too. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, sir. Interesting to walk in on that conversation.
Yeah. I need those conversations because it forces me to center myself and not rage against the machine. Although that song was on right before the conversation. So nice. I was naturally amped
banging your head
up from the music.
Sure. Sure.
But if you want to be humbled, come to Los Angeles County and drive from West Hollywood out to where I live, which is only 23 miles, but took 59 minutes.
No, I'm good.
Woo!
Yeah. So that's those are the conversations that we're hoping to have. I mean,
Yep.
obviously the headline behind myself and Anthony. By the way, what you see above us, we're working on it a little bit. We're trying to create a little bit more sort of consistency for our spaces. So on Anthony's side, that's his cash app. I have mine here. They're also in the link in my bio. And by the way, Anthony, you missed the big announcement earlier. The big announcement
Oh.
is there's merch now available on the in the link tree.
What?
There's merch in there, so at some point you should
Okay.
take a look. At
Okay.
launch today, it's officially live. We'll be having more conversations about that as we go. So
Okay.
I know merch. It's hard to believe. It's absolutely hard to believe, but anyway,
Yeah.
it's there.
It's
So
crazy.
yeah, I know. So friends, please, if you wouldn't mind, continue to like and share the live. We do want to talk to vets tonight. I know that this is really triggering for a lot of people, and I think it's by design. It's
Yep.
really. I trust my brother. I asked Anthony about this. I'm like, are you cool with us having this conversation? He said absolutely because it needs to happen. And we've seen strong reactions on both sides, and I think it's really, really necessary that we continue to have them. I've been told I also try to tread lightly. I don't represent the veteran community, but I've been told to that I can certainly have my criticism for those that claim to have served. I should say served, but yet still support Trump. So I'll
Yeah.
stand by that, but I'll defer
Yep.
to
Yep.
those conversations when they get deep.
And just as a public service announcement, um, if you come up and you claim that you're a veteran, I will take it on face value. But when
Mhm.
my spidey senses start to detect bullshit, the first question I'm going to ask you is what is your reenlistment code on the bottom of your DD 214? If you cannot answer within 30 seconds, I will suggest to my co host that we bounce you because then most likely you do fall into the category of stolen valor. Every single veteran knows what a reenlistment code is, and he or she damn well better know what's at the bottom of their DD 214. And if you don't, or you claim there isn't one, that's how I know you're a liar. So just be prepared. Because as a guy who was the commander of his VFW post, I had to pull records all the time. And we did catch people all the time lying about their veteran status. And this is something I will not tolerate and will not allow. So if you're going to come up here, have the goods. Doesn't mean we have to agree, doesn't mean we have to be politically aligned, but out of respect, do not come up here unless you actually are a veteran. And I'm sorry to say this, I'm going to say two more things.
Please.
Having a child, having a spouse does not qualify you to come up and speak on behalf of veterans. Sorry, you're out. Dependents do not count in this conversation. The other thing I need to say is something factual. The next time I hear somebody bring up Afghanistan, you need to remember something. When you're in an active combat zone, a certain percentage of people will be unalived. That's a part of the process. That's a part of being in the military. That is a known risk. You may not lay that at the feet of President Biden because of what happened in Afghanistan, considering that the former president is the one that came up with the plan. The former president is the one that met with the Taliban to come up with this plan. So while Joe may have been the commander in chief, he was executing a plan that was not his own. And we're not going to do whataboutisms with Joe. And if you can't identify the branches of the military for those 13 service members who unfortunately are no longer with us, I will also call bullshit on your veteran status. So be ready, please.
I think we tried to go through thank you, Anthony. We tried to go through I would push back a little bit. I'm willing to have conversations with parents of vets as long as the conversation is about their service and questions. But I would agree with you. Speaking on behalf of is a little bit different. So I know what you meant. I know what you meant. Um, we try to go through the steps and the specifics around Afghanistan and I'm no expert. I've read up on it. I feel like I know more than most, but I know a lot less than many. I know more than most, but no, I know a lot less than most. Let's put it that way. But what we know is factual. We know that the plan was set in place. We know that the drawdown occurred. We know that there was conversations about pulling out even earlier, including 2 days prior to the inauguration date, so that he could take credit for that. We know that under the Trump administration, 5,000 Taliban soldiers were released. So there's things that we know factually that loss of life, people volunteering to put themselves in harm's way is we owe a great debt of gratitude, without question. Pointing blame, pointing blame should be at the person who launched the IED or whatever was the method that they allowed their lives to be lost or the cause that loss of life. So we should level set on that. But facts are really important in these conversations. Once again, this topic is intended to be emotionally charged. I feel very strongly about it, and I know Anthony, and we'll have other guests this evening. I know Chris is in the box and Clueman as well, also served. And I think it's to the it's. Now, in fact, I want to hear from them because I think it's really necessary that we hear from other vets on this topic as well. So,
Indeed, please.
yeah, yeah. Good evening, Chris. How are you, brother?
Greetings,
Hi,
sir.
Chris. How are you?
Anthony, who ya, shipmate? The thing about it is, in this situation, especially if we're talking about Afghanistan. First of all, Afghanistan was actually one of the most, if perhaps not the most successful bug out we've ever had. I say that because we don't train to bug out.
Hmm,
We don't
interesting.
train to do it. And you would think that as many times as we have done it, then we would, but we don't. So compared to the fall of Saigon, this was immaculate conception. Yes, a Marine, a corpsman, I believe, and Army personnel lost their lives because somebody decided that they were going to jump into the mix with a bomb strapped to their chest. But exactly what set of parameters do you imagine could have prevented a situation from like that from happening, especially in a situation in which Trump set the original timeline, but then Biden actually managed to extend that timeline to get as many people out as possible.
Hmm.
While in the meantime, for whatever their fucking reasons, other people decided to come in country
Hmm.
and get stuck. So I don't understand. Well, I do understand why people bring it up. They bring it up because they have no understanding of the culture. They have no appreciation for the sacrifices, and they see a political opportunity. And that's mostly sometimes what we are to them. You can't imagine how many times I've heard the phrase homeless veteran since January 20th, 2021.
Hmm.
I didn't hear it at all when Trump was president. It was almost as if
Sure.
homeless veterans didn't exist, and then just suddenly sprang miraculously into existence the moment Biden became president. People tend to, especially Republicans, especially MAGA, tend to use us as props, and it's ridiculous. It was bad before in the 80s and the 90s. Hell, the reason we have the national anthem at sporting events right now was a recruitment tool, so you can't say we weren't used as props before. But
Right.
it's gotten reprehensibly worse since then, especially since Trump. A man who got 6 deferments because his daddy knew he was such a fuck up that he would either end up on the bad end of a training accident or would catch friendly fire or barring either of those two situations, would probably do something so treasonous he would probably be executed anyway.
Hmm.
Your daddy does not keep you out of situations like that 6 different times in 6 different ways because he has faith in you.
Bit of history. The building that the podiatrist who signed off on Trump's bone spurs was owned by Trump's dad.
So And I was listening to my guy before, and I was like, understand something, and I respect your proxy or uh subject matter for the
Outside
evening,
looking in.
your subject matter
Yep.
for the evening. But understand something, and I've been in quite a few situations or places where this has been true. In almost in every case, this is true. That veterans are slowly but subtly, almost in a heavy-handed way, indoctrinated. Because every time we go to the VA, anytime we go to like if we go on post, because I live down the road from Fort Knox, and we happen to be in a public place, and most public places that have people in mass have televisions. All of those televisions are set to fucking Fox News. All of them. So if you're sitting there for a doctor's appointment, that's what you're watching. If you're sitting on post in the food court, that's what the fuck you're watching. If, wherever else you might find yourself in that similar type of setting, that's more than like, if you look up at the sea of television, that's what you see. And I look up and I'm going, why the fuck is this? Whatever. But at the same time, it's always there. It's like a slow drip of bullshit. It's like a slow drip of a banquet of bullshit. So it's to be fair, a lot of us tend to, I won't say come by it honestly. We come by it incidentally. So
We've talked about this in. I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, go ahead.
We've talked about this in many areas about the power of misinformation and indoctrination, to use your words, and about how when you're exposed to something for so long, it becomes the truth, and that's the danger behind it. Whether it be the examples that you just gave about the indoctrination of almost forcing servicemen and women to be exposed to that on bases or wherever else, or what we see in political speak or COVID misinformation or you name it. So we see the danger, and here it's impacting lives and it's impacting people's freedom because the folks that are aligned with Trump politically that have taken the oath have abandoned their oath because of some of that misinformation, because they feel for some reason, again, feelings based, they feel that Trump is the patriot, that their service gives them rights to defend him against these great injustices. And it's end of the day, it's sad to me, quite frankly. I know it might bring disgust to others, and yeah, but it's just sad because you make the decision to volunteer to serve your country, and
Right.
then one man has just turned you against the oath that you took.
I mean, it's a weird thing, though, man. I mean, like, there's a question in the comments that says, "Why is that? Why did they do that?" I heard liberal veterans say that they've been indoctrinated. Understand that indoctrination is par for the course for even being inducted into the military to begin with.
True.
That's an entirely different thing. But make no mistake, it is indoctrination. They literally
Mhm.
call it indoc for a reason.
Right.
But it's it's weird. There used to be a point where we could be nationalistic to our own detriment,
Mhm.
but not almost like, dude riding a rocket all the way in and Doctor Strange good. You know,
Right. Right.
now we've gotten to that
Right.
point where we're almost about to auger
Yeehaw!
in.
Yeah. Right.
When George W. Bush was president, yes, we were nationalistic as fuck after 9/11. Of course we
Sure.
were,
Sure.
right? And some of that was good. A lot of it was bad because he pretty much got carte blanche to do whatever the fuck you want or whatever the fuck he wanted. And you would think that that would have been a wake up call to most people, but apparently the electorate got lazier after 9/11. I used to watch Boston Legal a lot. Now there was this
Yeah.
whole speech that James Spader's character did in regards to free speech zones. He was like, when I heard that uh the that the United States had instituted free speech zones, or that President Bush had rolled into Afghanistan under false pretenses, I had expected the American people to rise up. They didn't.
No.
And it's a lot like that. We have become, because with Trump it's always one thing after the other, and after a while you get fatigued by it and you come to expect it. I've had Trump shoved up my nose for 40 fucking years. I knew he was a fuck up when he came down the escalator.
Mhm.
But over the course of time, for whatever reason, people engage in magical thinking when it comes to Donald Trump. A lot. That's why the bar is so low. So when he became president, they thought, oh, well, he'll be a good president. He was a fuck up human being to begin with. Why the fuck do you think he would be a good president?
Correct.
And they think that the president was supposed to magically make him something other than Trump when he vehemently decided that it was going to do no such thing. And he
That's right.
decided to drag the presidency down to his level, as opposed to what every other living president has said, that there comes a time in the presidency. And if you go back and look at this, and I'm sure you know about it, you work in media, every living president has always said that there comes a time within your presidency where, wherever you are, the presidency elevates you to the level of the office. Or
That's
words
right.
to that effect. Even Nixon demonstrated that when he resigned. Donald Trump there's a difference between him and everybody else. They served in government and they've always had a reverence for government public service. No matter how dirty they became, there was always at their core that reverence. Donald Trump doesn't have that reverence. He
No.
never served in government. He sees the presidency as a brand enhancement. At this point, two things: a way to stay out of jail,
Right.
and a place to fucking lay his head, since he's about to get all of his fucking property stripped away from him. He's going to have to win just to have a place to stay. But he has never seen the presidency in a light of reverence that a public servant, however shitty that public servant may be, or however good that public servant may be at his core, has seen the presidency. So even Richard Nixon, who was also not the greatest motherfucker on earth, but at his core, he still saw the presidency with a level of reverence enough to jettison himself from it in order to fuck it up. Or
Correct.
instead of fucking it up, Donald Trump doesn't have that reverence. That is a rocket he is trying to ride all the way in.
You're right.
And
Chris, it's always. Go ahead. I'm
fact that
sorry.
people don't see that is crazy to me, but at the same time, there are people who believe that they're in on the joke, and then there are more extreme individuals who are waiting for it all to tumble down because because they're dry humping their ARs and lubricating them with whatever comes out of them. So that, itching for the opportunity to take to the streets with them to see who's going to be the next Negan.
Right.
You know.
Right. So, what would you? So, sort of, and Chris, it's always great talking to you. I really appreciate your perspective on the thing.
Sorry,
So,
I went
what would
far.
you like to? What would you? No, it's all good, man. What would you like to say in sort of in closing, if you will, to your fellow vets who are still voting for Trump?
We took an oath to the Constitution. We didn't take an oath to a man, if you can call him that. I know you, for whatever reasons, dig Donald Trump. You had that right. Fine. That's perfectly fine, I guess, if that's your thing. But honor, courage, and commitment and Donald Trump don't fit in the same sphere. They don't even exist within the same vibratory medium. So take your oath, take a step back, consider your oath, and consider everything you had to do under the auspices of that oath, and then look in the distance at Donald Trump, does he in any way conform to that mindset? Does he in any way even appreciate what it is you did under that oath? Could he have could he even find it in himself to take that oath? If the answer to those questions are no, then there's the answer to your question.
Well said.
The rest is just you blowing smoke up a wild elephant's ass.
Chris, thank you, bro. We appreciate
Thank you,
you
sir.
very much.
Thank you for having
Come
me.
back on this topic anytime. Good to have you. Good to see you, man. Be well. Please follow Chris, you guys. Um, the 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 reason that these conversations are so important is because of people
Hey,
like,
boys.
hey, Clue. The reason these conversations that are so important are because of people like Chris and people like Anthony and people like Clue Man, who who stood alongside many that took the same oath to do the same thing, defend, and yet there's this division within the veteran community. So, Clue, welcome. Sorry you're having a difficult time connecting, bro, but we got you. What's on your mind? I know this topic means a lot to you.
Yeah, well, first thing that I want to bring to light is how often I hear right-winger veterans complaining about socialism or calling Democrats socialists and not realizing that we're actually social democrats. There's a huge difference between full socialism and social democrats. And I try to remind these veterans that when you were active duty military, you were a full socialist. Everything you got, training, education, clothing, food, lodging, salary, medical care, it all came from the federal government via tax dollars. So when you were active duty, you were a full socialist. So for you to say anything negative about socialism at this point or social democracy, you're a hypocrite, straight up. And I'll tell you that to your face. Second, being former, it's funny, Anthony, you said something about having to tell the separation code. I'm like, oh shit, I'd have to dig out my 214s because I don't know what the separation code is on the bottom. And I've got 3 of them. I've actually got 5 of them because when you go on a active duty deployment, when you're in the Army Reserves and you leave that deployment, they'll give you another one. It's not a complete. I think it's a little different, but so I went and dug mine out just to see what the heck a separation code was, and because I went in 84, got out in 88, joined back up the end of 88, got out in 92, had a 13-year break in service, went back in 05 to 09 and got out again. So I have 3 DD-214s, each one with a different separation code. So I learned something today. I didn't even know that what the separation code was about. One of them's Juliet King Keeley. What's the phonetic alphabet for Q? I'm forgetting. It's been a long time. Quebec. Yeah, so
Wow.
Juliet King or Kilo Quebec is one. M22 is another one. Weird.
Why Quebec? That's weird.
Because it's easier to say.
Yeah,
Okay.
And people will know it's a Q word.
you can't mistake it for anything else, right?
Yours should
True.
start with RE and then a dash.
I think my reserve one does. But see, when I go active duty, nope, this one says MBK, Mike Bravo Kilo. Weird.
Yeah,
Anyway.
because those are your transition codes between reserve and active duty service.
Yeah.
They're not discharge, right? So on your actual DD-214, because that's what it means re-enlistment dash, and then there's the number, which is the code, right?
Right.
And each one of those means something.
Yep.
I assume you have RE1 or it could be RE2 because you may have, I think they switched it. You would be eligible, but you may have aged out also.
Oh, I'm 100% disabled through the VA, so I'm not
Oh, so
eligible.
then you're going to be in RE1 with a medical code at the
Yeah,
end
well,
of
they
that.
took me in '05. They took me being 30% disabled. They let me back in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but no. So anyway, that's one of the points I always like to bring up is socialism versus what you were in the military. So you should just shut up about the whole socialist thing. And Democrats
Thank you.
are socialists and they're trying to ruin our country. They want everybody to get free handouts. No, we just want rich people to pay their taxes, and then we wouldn't need to worry about everything would be taken care of. But the other
Including
thing that really
veterans.
gets me that I like to point out as well, especially to Vietnam vets. If you talk to any Vietnam vets today, ask them if they were drafted, and then ask them why they would support a draft dodger. And then, of course, ask another good thing to tell vets is to simply ask Alexa or Google um, comments made by John Kelly about Donald Trump. Just do that Google search. What did John Kelly say about Donald Trump? And John Kelly, of course, retired General John Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically has said Trump is the most serious danger to our Constitution, our country. He's a clear and present danger to our country existing. And if they don't want to listen to a retired general who was Trump's longest serving chief of staff, probably the longest serving person on Trump's cabinet,
I think so.
so he knows Trump. He sat in private with Trump. He talked with Trump. He knows Trump better than just about anyone in Trump's cabinet because of the stuff they were talking about, national security issues and other stuff. And when you're standing at Arlington Cemetery and your son is in that cemetery and Trump asks you, what is in it for them? You know,
Exactly.
I don't want to go out here and honor these losers and suckers. Then, if you're still a veteran vote, if you still support Trump as a veteran after that, that to me is why you are a traitor. I mean, let's just not even get into the whole fact that if any of us as veterans would have taken any classified documents out of a SCIF or some kind of place where classified documents are stored, if we'd have taken them out and not just use them nefariously for nefarious purposes, but taken them out of that, we could have been in Leavenworth or potentially been in front of a firing squad. But uh, so we could go into that about how he's a treasonous bastard. He you can't freaking take classified documents and then give them to other people or show them to other people. We couldn't take our cell phones into the SCIF. If I went into the JITIC or the SCIF, the Joint Interrogation Debriefing Center, or a SCIF, special compartmentalized information facility, I would have, or a secure compartmentalized information facility, I would have gone to jail. They just take you straight to the brig.
Wasn't it the guardsman, Jack Teixeira, right? Was he a National Guardsman? He's the gentleman. I think he just pled guilty for doing something similar. I think he was in a gaming. He was either on Twitch streaming or something like that, and was sharing information that was classified. And he's in jail. He's going to jail. To your point, Clue.
Right. And so that alone ought to do it. But then also, him attempting to subvert the Constitution and overthrow a free and fair election. I mean, there's just so many examples that you can use with all these veterans that you talk to today of why they should never support Trump as a veteran.
I want to ask both of you this question. So then, what is it? What is the draw? What is the draw to him? Do they link it to patriotism? Do they feel like they're in the fight with him against the deep state? What is it?
Go ahead, Anthony. I'll let you go first.
Why, thank you, sir. I've always believed at a base level, certain people need to be a victim. They need to feel justified in their bigotry and their racism and their hatred of other people because of where they are socially, economically, mentally, physically, metaphysically, right? They want to blame everybody else but themselves for their personal issues. The patron saint of it's okay to be white and be a victim is Donald J. Trump. And they see something about themselves in him. And I can only assume it's a type of comfort. And that type of comfort makes them brave, makes them feel that they can say and act in a certain way, as we saw on January 6th, as we see at the rallies. But when asked an actual question, there's never been a single one that I have seen that has been able to actually answer a simple question. They also seem to be completely unaware of Donald Trump's history. And I think this goes back to this psychosis of needing to be a victim, of recognizing that their white fragility based on Christian nationalism has put them in a position where immigration scares them because the numbers are dwindling. America's becoming more diverse. America is changing. Those things frighten their worldview. And Donald Trump enables them to continue on that path. And I've just brain farted the other word. God, somebody help me.
Context. I must have missed it. Complicit.
It's not complicit. It is complicit. It's not just enabling. It's justifying their behavior. He justifies their behavior and he magnifies it.
Yeah, he promotes it. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I think. Clue Man, what say you?
I could sum it up to two things that reign true for me, I think, because I used to live in Idaho, so I knew a lot of veterans over there. And when I first got out of the military, or the second time I got out in 92, I did go through a phase where I was a little anti-government, honestly. You know, I ended up moving up to North Idaho in 96, 97, and I was a prepper. You know, I had my little place out in the woods called Cozy Nook, aka the Stronghold, and I had my guns and my ammo and my long-term storage food, and I was doing my thing up there. But I still knew, I was still liberal enough to understand about all people are created equally, liberty and justice for all. We the people means everyone. But I was kind of separating myself from society and humanity because I had an adjustment disorder. I was having a hard time adjusting back to civilian life. So I think there's a lot of them that suffer with that or that have struggled with that. And then on top of that, they're being fed a constant barrage of right-wing propaganda, which is just straight lies and telling them that they have to be afraid of somebody. And actually, that's what the military does when they brainwash you. They teach you that you have to have an enemy. You have to have an enemy. I had, when I first went in, it was height of the Cold War. Russia was our enemy. And everything we did was train to fight Russia and defend against Russia. Well, then Russia fell while I was in the military. Soviet Union collapsed. The USSR collapsed, and suddenly North Korea was our enemy. Now we have to learn everything about North Korea. And so I think you come out of the military with this brainwashing you got at the ripe age of 18 or whenever you went in, and you are convinced that you have to have an enemy. And then the right-wing media and propaganda tool feeds them exactly what they want. Now people coming across our border are your enemy. And, people who cross dress are your enemy. People who are gay are your enemy. Women who want equal rights are your enemy. Socialists are your enemy. It just keeps coming. They don't stop with the barrage of stuff. So you couple people who are a little anti-government and separating themselves from society, and then getting fed a barrage of bullshit. And what you end up with are veterans who are not living up to their oath. That's my 2 cents.
I appreciate that, bro. And the irony of what you just said, as you described it, the scapegoating is a fundamental tenet of fascism. That's the ironic part about this here. When you sign up to serve, the examples that you gave, Russia, North Korea, and other fascistic dictatorships, you're trained, educated, prepared to defend against them, and yet what you're describing is fascism. The scapegoating. Everybody is a target. Everybody else is. I'm on the right side of history because all gay people, black people, brown people, immigrants, women, they're bad. They're the enemy. I understand what you're saying. It's a cancer. It really is a cancer, and it's something that I don't know the answer. I don't. I think it's just truth. I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. I think you have to expose people and their beliefs as much as you can. There's a line. We would love to try to do it respectfully. Oftentimes we can't. You've been in my lives, Clue. Anthony knows this full well. We try to have these conversations. It's just, to your point and to Chris's point earlier, when you're drinking from the fire hose over and over and over and over again, you believe it to be the truth.
Yep.
You believe it to be the truth.
And all right. Well,
Anthony,
listen.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Appreciate you letting me up. I'm going to back out and let you bring some other veterans up. Hopefully we get some opposition vets in here that we can actually bring over and help them see that they're being played by a charlatan, a snake oil salesman, and that they are violating their oath. They're not staying true to their oath. And hopefully we'll get a few more. They don't even have to vote for Biden. Just don't vote for Trump. Just don't even vote. If you, and I would also say this, if they're Christians and they're standing in the voting booth, or they claim to be Christians, I don't know how you could be and support the modern day Republican Party or Trump thin skin. But if you are in that voting booth and your conscience is saying, hey, I don't know if I can check this box next to the fat orange turd. You know what? Guess what? That's probably how Jesus would talk to you. Okay, Yeshua, the messianic Jewish carpenter. If he was going to talk to you, it would be through your conscience. Okay, that's what is supposed to keep people from sinning, right? Their conscience. They know what is right and wrong. They know what they should do and shouldn't do. Their conscience tells them, no, this isn't right. I shouldn't do that. That's probably God talking to you. Now, I'm an atheist, so, I just talk to myself. I know right from wrong. I was taught right from wrong. I know how to discern between right and wrong without reading it in a book or having somebody tell me. But if you can't, if you are a firm believer, and I respect, people want to believe whatever they want to believe. I fought for their right to do so. But here's the thing. When you start pushing that shit on me, now you're crossing the line. And if you're going to stand in that voting booth and let your conscience guide you, then you can't vote for a convicted essayer. You can't vote for somebody who's stole classified documents, who's tried to destroy our Constitution. You can't vote for that person. So if you can't choose, and then I'm not going to vote for Biden because he's a socialist, then just turn around and walk out. You don't have to put a check mark there.
Right. All set, Clue. Thank you, bro.
All right. Talk to you later, man. Thanks. Bye.
Later, buddy. Be well. Yeah. Hard to follow that.
I mean, this is why I like when he comes up, right? And it's not about wanting to be in an echo chamber. It's about validating my ideas when other grown adults share those ideas and articulate them in a different manner. That's That's the kind of validation that makes me comfortable in my belief system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's important that we all learn from each other, that we all take the time to listen to each other. I find it interesting, of all evenings, not to see the normal chirping in the comments.
Yep.
I'm not even being sassy or feisty tonight. I even have, by the way, for those fashion conscious people, I am indeed wearing a Ralph Lauren shirt and a pair of Tommy Bahama casual dress pants and some pretty funky socks, along
You
with
California hippie.
my Cole Haan LA shoes. So
Hey now.
hey now.
Well,
Well, listen, when you go have lunch with a good friend
mhm.
who works at a rather large institution, and wants to take you out to a fantastic lunch in West LA, you put on your adult clothes, because if I could be honest, normally I'm in like disgusting shorts, a grubby old t-shirt, and my Crocs. But
But that's the joy of owning our own businesses.
yeah,
If I ma- if I
yeah,
if I change my, I'm not going to go there, and won't even go there.
right, right.
But yes. So
If you
speaking
flip it
of,
inside out,
sure, of course, and then again, um, speaking of clothing, I think I'd like to take this opportunity just to mention, since it's live as of today, there is a link in the link tree in my
yeah,
bio to the merch store. There's
yeah,
Fax merch there. There's sweatshirts. There's T-shirts. There's stickers. It's amazing. This came together quickly. It's been sort of on the back burner, but it's there. If you want to take a peek, knock yourself out.
yeah. I guess
Yes,
I'll
and
have to
then
get me one of them there fax shirts.
yeah, that you could. I think I was thinking about it today. As I can imagine walking around someplace, and then there's a sweatshirt, and you're just like, holy shit! Like, what would I do? Like, would I pull my hood up over my head? And I don't know. Anyway, um, but I really want to your point. I don't know how somebody could defend. That's what I want to
Yeah,
hear. So
yeah,
Rick, our guest, the first guest we had this evening, you could see what we were saying to him was resonating, but he was
yep,
still like digging the fingernails in, trying to pivot. He admitted that he didn't know a lot of the information that I had shared with him, that you had shared with him. So
yeah,
that's a good sign. Hazel,
yeah,
the link in the merch, the link for the merch is in my link tree in my bio. So if you click on my bio, you'll see the link tree, and if you click the link
yep.
tree, it's the first category. It says Fax merch, buy now, or something like that. Go get it or get some, I think is what it is. But again,
Get some.
get some. The conversation specifically about how difficult this might be for someone who served, for us to be sitting here. Again, I deferred to my brother here about this topic, and he's like, "Yeah, we can have this conversation." I know how strongly you feel about it, but it still disturbs me that people literally would take the oath and
Yep.
then accept what they see. You can call Joe Biden feeble. You can say he stutters. You can say he misspeaks. But let's be real. Uh, let's be real. His son lost his life in service to our country, exposed to toxins, and died of brain cancer. So he's welcomed. He's again. We know who he is. Clearly, we know who Joe Biden is when it comes to things like this.
Yep.
All right, friends. The box is open. If people have opinions on this particular topic, we were really hoping to have some more vets this evening. I'm surprised, to be honest, but let's talk to Greg. Good evening, sir. First shout out to you. The gentleman in our box is the creator of the tags behind our heads, so thank you very much, Gregory. Much appreciated,
Oh,
sir.
oh, you're very welcome. Just some great guests this evening. One thing that I think a lot of veterans are forgetting about is service before self.
Hmm.
I've seen nothing at all that Donald Trump does that would even remotely resemble putting anything, our country, his subordinates, anybody before himself. He absolutely refuses to do that. If you look at all the people that were the best people that he had in his cabinet and working for him, as many of them that have been in trouble. I've never seen that man stand up one time and defend a subordinate.
Right.
That's not a leader. I just, I, I've searched. I've tried to figure out, did I ever have a non-commissioned officer or a commander that didn't have our back, that didn't say, yes, I told them to do that. Yes, that's on me. I challenge anybody who considers themselves to be MAGA. Name me one time that you've seen Donald Trump say, that was my decision. Good or bad, I made that decision. You can't. He never does anything right. He thinks he's infallible. You know, my household, I'm a veteran. My wife's a veteran. Our kids, God bless them. You know, you take responsibility for your actions. He never does. Fails every time. Every time it's been a challenge, he's constantly failed. You know, in the classified document thing, we're constantly hearing about, oh, well, Joe Biden did the same thing. I take issue with that because Joe Biden had a box of documents, and I've read a lot. I try to read every indictment. I read constantly.
Mhm.
From what I've seen, was a lot of what Joe Biden had was leftover briefing memos and handwritten notes. You
Correct.
know, if you're the president, the vice president, head of any kind of, you know, a Senate committee or something, you get the presidential daily briefing. And it's not that Joe Biden, I'm not saying he didn't, but there is a good possibility that those briefing memos he didn't take from Washington, D.C. to Maryland. He
Correct.
was in Maryland. They come to him, they give him that briefing. You get that briefing every day, whether you're in Washington, overseas, or at home, on the beach, whatever. So to compare rooms full of documents to a box of documents, come on, please. That's disingenuous.
Mm.
And I've tried to, since we talked, I've really tried to talk to some of the veterans I know that do support Trump, and there's really not that many. But I've tried to talk to them, and just like the last guest said, or it might have been Anthony, I apologize, I can't remember exactly who said it, but when you back them in the corner and you ask them why they are supporting Donald Trump, I've yet to get a straight answer at all. I think
Yeah,
I do
or
agree
an
with
answer
a.
that's different. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. Go ahead.
I was going to say, or an answer that's different than what we talked about before. Like, nobody wants to say because he provides cover for my bigotry or he provides cover for my racism or whatever it might be. We
Well,
feel like we know psychologically, what that draw is, but without reason. Like the only thing I've heard is that he showed more strength overseas. He showed strength to Kim Jong Un. He showed strength to Putin, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
he legitimized Kim Jong Un. The only
Exactly.
reason that he's the only president that ever stepped foot in North Korea, he was the only president who put his ego before our country, so he could say he was
Correct.
the first to do it. They've always been a pariah. He elevated North Korea by doing that. That was not bravery. And
Correct.
sharing foreign intelligence with Russians. I mean, and this is not, oh, he might have. It's documented. He did it. You
Yeah,
know,
we know.
um, the Five Eye documents. You know that
Hmm.
only. I mean, it's just I could go on and on and just get on a soapbox and complain all day long, but I don't see. I just see nothing of value with it morally. I wouldn't want. I can say for sure I would not want any of my children to be anything like him. You see compassion out of Joe Biden. Another thing on the PACT Act, it wasn't just for burn pits. That
No,
also included a lot of people from the Vietnam era that had Agent Orange. Um, it also took away a lot of used to, like, say you got diagnosed with Berger's disease, you would have to go and say, this is how it links back to my military service, there's a list of diseases that veterans may have gotten. And if you have them, that burden is taken away. They automatically accept responsibility, you know. And veterans praise that. And back to the whole socialism thing. Oh, socialist bad. Well,
Right.
mm,
Right.
you know, I I don't use I'm considered a disabled combat veteran. I could go into the VA and be seen. The only people that would get priority over me would be a Purple Heart recipient. I do not use the VA because I have really, really good health insurance, you know, from the company that I'm currently working for.
Mhm.
But it's really nice knowing that I could if I needed to, you know, and I don't know. I just, for what it's worth, I guess that's my 2 cents is I don't see anything to where Donald Trump has ever put anybody above himself. He does not believe in the whole concept of service before self. You know, oh, one more thing that really irks me. I was Army. I was not a Marine, but I served with a lot of Marines out at 29 Palms, California, and doing like training exercises. And I know Bella Wood is a very, very big deal to a Marine. And that was where Donald Trump refused to go when he was over in France.
Right.
And because it was raining, he didn't want to get his hair wet. And he
Correct.
made the sucker and loser comment. I'm sorry, no redeeming qualities. I, my wife and I both question any veteran that could still support him. We've lost good friends over it. I would love to know exactly why they support him, but we don't talk. The ones I do talk to, like I was saying, is I can't get a straight answer out of any of them. I don't get it myself.
So, Greg, like we've asked everybody else to come up again, thank you for your service, brother, and thank you for what you've said and done. And we appreciate you meeting you last week. You know, your
Yes,
journey
sir.
from where you were to where you are now. What would you like to say to your fellow vets who still support Trump?
Just exactly that. Look at his history. Look at how he treats his subordinates.
Mm.
Everybody from a private to a sergeant major, a seaman to an admiral, they have been taught leadership. They have the concept of service before self.
Mm.
How could you say this man is what I represent when you see somebody who would leave a fallen brother behind? He's proven it time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's ridiculous. And if you just really need to open up your mind, read the documents, look at what he's done. There's really good books out there. There's one called Compromat that is,
American Compromise. Yeah.
oh yes,
Yeah.
excellent. You know, it goes back to the late 70s and 80s when Trump first got involved with the Russians.
Mm-hmm.
And Lev Parnas, he
Yeah.
has called him out in front of Congress. He's naming names.
He sure is.
Everybody is not lying on this man.
That's
You
right.
know, hey, I used to
Appreciate
when I was in elementary school. My grandma all the time. I come home. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, everybody's lying on you. You know, and that's. I remember being a little kid trying to say that I didn't do it. You know, at some point somebody's got to be telling the truth.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
But
right. That's exactly right.
like always, I enjoy the show. Think the
Thank you,
world
bro.
of you and Anthony both. You guys have
Thank
a
you, buddy.
great day, and thanks for having me up.
So, Greg, before you leave, because I think you said you were in the Army, so
Yes, sir.
I'm agnostic on this. I'm going to say beat Navy, since there's been a lot of shade coming your way earlier.
Whoa! Pump those
Yeah,
brakes.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I'm in a mixed marriage myself. My wife was Air Force. I was Army. You know, we go round and round all the time. You know, she'll say, well, you know, when I was in the military, and I always have to remind her, well, you were in the Air Force. And she doesn't like that. She, you know, but used to it really got me in trouble. But now I just get some choice expletives, and you know, she tells me exactly where I can go.
Well, I
But
think we get that anyway, but I get
yeah,
you.
absolutely. But you guys have a great evening, and
Thank you, buddy.
if you need anything, holler.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Be well, Greg. Thanks. Greg.
Yes, sir.
Be
Bye.
well.
Yeah.
Again, it's the commentary about, it's like you can almost hear it. Like it's the confusion, like where we're holding on to what, and the fact that people can't
Yes.
answer. I mean,
Yes.
how many conversations do you feel like you've had with folks that are politically in opposition to you that still support Trump that are vets over the last 8 years, Anthony? Just ballpark. How many conversations do you think you've had?
In the last 8 years?
Yeah, since he became president,
Oh, fuck. A few thousand.
really. And has been the theme, like you said, when they're confronted, there's just no answer. It's just
It's a pivot into a whataboutism
yeah.
always. Every single or like something that um with my supercomputer in the palm of my hand I was able to debunk. But then they would literally look at me and say fake news, and I'd be like, you do know what I do for a living, right?
Mm, mm, right.
So, you trusted me to be commander of the VFW post. You trusted me to be the treasurer of the VFW post. Why were these things true then that now I don't have the same credibility? Because of Trump?
Mm.
A guy that never served? So you're now going to take the word of a draft dodging POS over a fellow veteran? That's an interesting stance. How do you square that? Crickets. Crickets.
Good call. Okay. Well,
Well.
good evening, Uncle Rusty the Clown.
Hello, children.
How are we this evening?
I'm doing fabulous, and how are you?
I'm a little nervous.
You're
No,
not
I'm
the first to
fine.
say
Thank you for
such-
asking. Thank you for asking. I'm fine. Yes. Good to
You're
see
not-
you.
You're not the first to say such things.
Mm.
And you won't be the last either.
I'm assuming that you've been listening, Uncle Rusty the Clown. Did you have some comments that you would like to make regarding our discussion this evening?
Well, I've listened for a few minutes. I'm actually about to get back on the road, and I thought I would pop in and say I just generated a video. I was so incensed by another mouth breather that I generated a video while sitting in this parking lot. And then I popped over and saw that you two were live and said, you need a little clown in your life right now.
We all do.
You need a little joy. You need a little happiness.
Yes, we all do. That's a really good perspective, Uncle Rusty the Clown. We all need some happiness, and for those of you who have clown phobias, get over it, because we have an actual clown here to help support us and take us through our dark days.
Well, I saw Gregory here a moment ago, and he and I are mutuals. And when he said he was in a mixed marriage with, the Air Force wife and he was Army, I'm reminded of a video I saw earlier where someone was interviewing people on the street and said, give me the first word that pops into your head when I say something. Army. And they said, military. I said, great. Navy. They said, military. Air Force. Military. Marine Corps. Assholes. And
No, I can't touch that.
well, and as you know, facts, my alter ego comes from a Marine Corps family, and yeah, that kind of makes sense, and proudly so. But I see the squid up above me, embracing this idea. So what, whatever there, tentacle boy. But in any event, this is the first time I have popped into a live. And
Well, welcome.
I'm feeling a little wiggly inside.
This
is
things are tingling.
Well, things are tingling that, still tingle. I am a Gen Xer, so some things don't tingle like they used to. But I won't cry about it, I swear. There'll be no crying.
There's no crying in baseball.
Well, there's no crying in Ringling Brothers.
Oh,
So
is that a suspension?
Well, that's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that later. That's not this live. That's another one.
We'll save that for facts after dark.
That's one of those late night lives.
Indeed.
Um,
Indeed.
but well, I am going to now get on the road, gentlemen. But I thought I would pop by and say hi
Pleasure.
because you two are two of my favorite human beings.
Back at you, brother.
Thank
So
you.
you guys have a lovely rest of the day, and to everyone in the chat, toodaloo.
Thank you, Rusty. Goodbye, friend.
Bye.
Yes, we all need some clown in our life, don't we? I think it's necessary that.
Can we have a Toodaloo shirt?
Yeah, I think we should totally consider something like that.
I mean, it just
Wow.
seems logical, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to again. I want to go back. I'm not even sure how I want to say this. The comments that I've heard this evening are very pointed at people who have served, like yourself and Gregory and Clueman and Chris and everyone else who've come up. It's generally, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, but it's like a plea to kind of look inward. If
Yeah.
you've taken the oath, to look
Yeah.
inward at where you are. Like, we know that there's some people that are part of this journey. I'll go back to Gregory. He talked about that in his journey or evolution of development and understanding what he's been voting for or against, more likely human rights for one. And is that, am I right about that? That there's hope that you're trying to crack the code, and it's almost, you feel, I know it's anger, sure, that's the visceral reaction, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you both you stood in the mud with your fellow brothers and sisters.
Here's the thing, right? I'll have to define it in 4 points. One, my veteran status does not define me,
Mhm.
but it certainly has made me who I am. I am my brother and sister's keeper, and I will stand guard for them. Whenever a brother or sister needs help, I will make sure to be the first in line to help them. And it's not anger, it's hurt. It hurts me deeply that they have abandoned everything to worship this person. And I want to say this declaratively. I don't care who the person is. When you start worshiping a politician over the Constitution, and you start treating that person like a deity, it hurts me. Because we used to have something in common. We used to have a bond. I didn't break it. You broke it. Because I'm still standing watch. I'm still standing guard. I'm still willing to help you. You, on the other hand, thank you very much. You, on the other hand, have deserted us. You have abandoned us. You have abandoned your watch. Oh, nice hat. And that's what hurts me. And I think it's more important to talk about the hurt than it is to talk about the anger.
Hey, Tony, I'm going to mute you for one quick second because you've got a bit of an echo. We'll see. You can unmute now. See if that cleared it up. Thank you, Anthony, for that. I think that's exactly the driving force behind these conversations. Good evening, Tony.
Hey, how are y'all guys?
We're good.
Well, I'm a veteran as well, and I am from the Air Force, so let the insults rain down.
Beat Army.
And I'll even give you a little better. I was a lowly cook.
No such thing.
Hold on just a second, because I need to say this to you, Tony. But
Hey,
there
Tony,
is an
can you
echo.
mute real quick and then unmute, because you still got a little bit of an echo. Unless you're on if you're on Bluetooth, maybe turn those off.
Yeah. So I need to make a public service announcement for all people in the Air Force. I was very fortunate to
I'll be right back. You guys talk.
had to go to Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines to pick up some stuff, and I had to spend part of a day there and overnight. And all I can say is the chow hall on that Air Force Base was like the most amazing thing I'd ever experienced in my life. And I was instantly jealous of all people in the Air Force because you had the most fantastic food I've ever had in the entire 8 years I spent in the military. And so when you say that you were only a cook and I see that you dropped, don't say that because damn, bro, like the cooks in the Air Force, they were the shit. Like I've never eaten so well. So everybody
we,
has a role to
we
play,
threw down.
right?
We
Yeah.
threw down in the kitchen.
Yes. I probably
we
gained
was-
I probably gained 10 pounds over that day and a half in at Clark Air Force Base.
I remember one time we had a commander's call for the cops, and they probably like 50 people come in, and we had 20 minutes left. And it was breakfast, and I was on the grill, and I pushed them out in 20 minutes. Omelets and pancakes and French toast. I was hammering it out.
Yeah. There's something about breakfast in the military, especially again, Air Force Base different than any other base I've been to. Uh just the sheer volume of food that was being generated during the breakfast hour at Clark Air Force Base was freaking staggering, right? And you know, right? I mean, and there aren't a lot of people on that line cooking, but dang, bro, like in the Navy, we don't get pancakes, French toast, omelets, eggs, freaking eggs to order, poached eggs if you want them, English muffins with hollandaise sauce. We get like powdered eggs if you're lucky, right? So, yeah, hats off to you. And besides that, um, there were a couple positions in the military I remember very well. I was always friendly with the cooks because when the little boxes of cereal would arrive, they'd save me like a little box of Fruit Loops or Sugar Smacks, and having some sugar cereal was like freaking key. Shit was like gold. And then having them learn what types of food you like, and then helping them when they needed help, right? Like if they were moving stores or something, like volunteer to help them because you always want to be nice to the cook. That's all I have to say. You live at your own peril when you talk shit about the cooks because you very well may get a little hungry one day, or very well may find a little bit of a surprise within your food.
No,
We usually, when we went out in the field, we usually went out in the field with civil engineering, and it was always fun with them. This one time we went out with finance, and we were supporting them, and we like they was up there for 2 weeks. I'll come in on the second week, and they were just assholes to the point where our master sergeant went to them and was like, "We don't have to be here. We can leave you MREs and go home." And they straightened up after that. Me, me, me and a friend of mine that was up there, we was making s'mores, and we walked by their tent. They was all in a tent having a meeting, and me and him walked by. These are some good s'mores. These are the best damn s'mores I ever had.
So Tony, you probably heard some of this conversation that we've been having this evening. I'm wondering how it makes you feel.
Well, Anthony said he don't feel anger. He feels what did you? I forgot now what he said. He feels
Hurt.
hurt. I feel anger
Mm.
because I don't understand. You know, we declared an oath to the Constitution, and that's what we're supposed to be beholden to at all times. And I will never understand how another veteran could look at that man and be like, "Yep, that's my guy." I just, well, I can't understand anybody, but especially a veteran, especially the way he disparages veterans. I'll never understand how he can how anybody can, a veteran could look at him and support him. I'll never understand it.
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out too. So, and then I guess if what would you say? We've had when we're asking everybody that comes up tonight, what would you say to a room of vets who have all said that they'll vote for Trump, and you had the opportunity to speak to them? So right now, what would you say?
Like Anthony said, look inward. Remember your oath. Remember why we signed our name on that dotted line. It wasn't for fame and glory. I mean, it wasn't to be rich. It was to do our duty for our country. Some of us, yes, it was a way out of what of poverty or whatever else. But still, we signed our name on the dotted line because we loved our country.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to remember why they did it.
That's the key, right? Think about back to the day that you decided to sign up, to literally put your life on the line in support of your country. What was it that drew you to it? And then what's happened since, I guess is the question. I think we understand that there's some, call it indoctrination, call it right-wing influence, call it whatever you might, but somewhere along that journey, so many lost their way. Let's be real. Some that have joined, we know that there's tendencies to have beliefs aligned for whatever. We know racism has always been there, and bigotry and homophobia, all those things have existed. Was it amplified because of the indoctrination? There's an old George Carlin used to say, if cocaine enhanced your personality, what if you're an asshole? So if those tendencies have already existed, and then you're continuing to be forced fed things about, the brown people are coming to change your life, or the great replacement theory, or the BIPOC community is out to get us, and it's those trans and those gays and all those kinds of things, when you hear it over and over and over and over and over again, and you're already inclined to believe it, that they're out to get you, then that's a recipe for disaster. And unfortunately, it's a recipe for treason, based on what we're seeing here.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Well, gents, I'll drop down. Thank you,
Tony.
Me.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate your
Thanks,
service.
Tony.
Thanks
Cheers.
very much. Thank you,
and
buddy.
Also, best name fucking ever. So, sorry.
Yeah, it's funny. I agree. I mean, somebody beat me to it because I saw it in the chat. It says, "I'm desperate to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Hold me closer, Tony Danza."
Nice. Well played, sir.
That's not mine. It was in my head, but somebody beat me to it.
Yes, that could be a segment within Facts After Dark.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because we all have those songs that we used to think were something, or a title of something. So mine, for example, "Can't Buy Me Love" by the Beatles. When I was younger, I used to think it was "Camp Bunny Love." So there's that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
right.
When you're a young, impressionable kid, and you hear that, and I was fortunate that my parents played the Beatles around my house, and I'm like, "Camp Bunny Love." I was like, "Yeah, sure, totally." Where's Camp Bunny Love? I can't find it on a map.
Well, there are other maps.
That's definitely the way you said that, Anthony. There are other maps.
Yes. May we all grow and learn the appropriate map for our partner.
Ladies and gentlemen, well said. We already know that MAGA men can't find it and never will. I'll leave it right there. TikTok. It is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information to its absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. Opinions of our guests or commenters are theirs and theirs alone, and do not reflect those of the hosts. Hate speech is not allowed. We are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only. And boy, do we love the TikTok shop. Whew, man, love it.
I mean, again,
Hang on one second.
Okay.
Patty, there's a bathroom on the right. Bad moon on the rise. Bad moon rising. That's a good one. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I
also crack kills. Please wear a belt and pull up your fucking pants.
Yes.
Took a second for that one to register with people, I'm sure.
Right? Or Nirvana. I can't think of the name of the song now. Smells Like Teen Spirit. I mean,
Oh,
unless you look at the
yeah,
lyrics, I mean,
yeah,
I've been singing that song wrong for years, and I play the
yeah,
guitar and I have lyrics, and I'm still singing, and I still say
yeah,
it wrong. So
yeah,
it's just one of those things.
yeah.
All right,
I'm
bring
a
up JD.
skater.
Yeah, I'm a skater.
Yep.
Exactly. Hi, JD.
Hey,
Hey, JD.
I'll admit I'm not a vet. I'm the only one of my siblings that have no tie to the military. All three of my sisters married somebody that was in the military, and both my brothers were Navy. And then you go into my step siblings, and we have Navy and Marine. And then I have three half brothers. One died before he was old enough to enter, and the other two were in Vietnam. But anyway, and I think they both were Army. I almost was Army. I was almost at West Point. I was almost part of the first women at West Point.
Hmm.
The reason I asked to come up, I came up with an idea for a shirt. Of course, I have no way of doing it, but I thought if we could find somebody who does it, they'd have to be someone who could do individualized ones. The idea is if you have an ancestor or family member you want to say served like World War II, have their picture and say, I fought fascist.
Hmm. Or I'm Antifa.
Yes. Clue Man has one. We all should be, or we're supposed to be Antifa. He has one. I saw it in one of his videos recently, and that's what made it click in my head. Ooh, we have our vets,
Hmm.
and maybe that will click to someone,
Hmm.
even if it's just one person.
Yeah. Good idea.
So,
Good idea. Thank you for that. We appreciate you.
anytime, if I come up with any more, I'll tell you. And
You know where to find us. 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday.
Crow and Arrow is the guy that designs stuff, so
Yeah.
he'll know someone.
He is someone. Thank you, JD. We appreciate you. All right. Bring up Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, my friends.
How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you for your direction when you had that How Are You Doing live. I'm the lady that was looking at homelessness and with a bunch of other stuff going on.
Oh, that's right. I remember you, Sarah. So how are you?
I'm great. I just locked down an apartment today here in town.
That's wonderful, Sarah.
And because of your guys' encouragement, I'm getting VA housing and rental assistance.
Oh, Sarah, it's all you. You took the step. I'm glad you shared your journey with us.
You know, being in the Guard, I never really expected any benefits. That was kind of the deal, you know?
Hmm.
And you guys just, I didn't want to reach out. But you guys were there for me. And you ladies have been amazing. And I have my appointment with my intake on Monday.
Hmm.
So it's all good. I'm going to be in my own place by the 1st of the month.
Congratulations, Sarah. Hearts in the chat for Sarah, friends. That's amazing. That's amazing.
I wanted to say thank you. It meant so much to me to know that there was somebody in my corner. I can't express how grateful I am. I really can't.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm humbled by that. Thank you, Sarah. You're the one that took the step, and we're just like I said. I'm glad we were here to help you with that. But congratulations. Brighter days ahead, as they say, Sarah. Brighter days ahead.
I just want to do a little testimony about how real you guys are, and that you really mean what you say, and it matters. It matters to a lot of people.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
it out.
I got you. Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Taking a minute to take that all in.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, take your time.
You see people that are faced with challenges in life that they don't deserve.
Yep.
And you come across them in strange ways, and you just never know. You just never know what that simple act of kindness, and in this case, just listening to her and encouraging her and giving her guidance and offering her suggestions and support, and most importantly, love. Um, and to have that impact. Um, yeah, yeah. I'm rarely speechless. My apologies. That was crazy.
Testament to what you've built here.
It's us, man. I just
Well, you planted, you cultivated. I showed up as a dirty fucking deadhead hippie, and you were like, "Oh, I didn't know my parents had another child." At the same time, they had me.
I just think it's important, right? It's like the simplest things, just to ask somebody if they're doing okay. It's so simple. It doesn't take any effort. It literally just has to do with your priorities. Hi, Jen. How are you?
Can you hear him?
Hi. I'm good.
Ooh, that's a pretty bear.
Nice to see you. Thank you for dressing your husband today. We all appreciate it.
For the record, I dress myself. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do ask the teenager in the house for color coordination advice because
Good
it's
advice.
important.
Yeah, that's good guidance. That's a good suggestion.
Yes, but my wife will tell you that I own more clothes and shoes than she does. I have a problem.
Very true.
I literally have probably over 50 pairs of shoes.
Wow.
I have a problem.
Are they in rotation, or
Yes.
are they just there to look at?
I'm gonna feed and walk the dog.
Okay, love you, dear.
Bye, Jen. We love Jen.
Bye, Jen. Say hi to my wife for facts.
Say hi. Yeah, say hi to my wife. Say hi to your wife for me.
I have like cowboy boots. I have different variety of shoes for suits, variety of casual shoes, hiking shoes, shoes for security work, flip flops, Crocs, running shoes. I literally probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 pairs of shoes right next to me, and probably another 30 some odd in the closet, and then down near the motorcycle, another collection of motorcycle specific shoes.
Yeah, I do have a lot of those. I've got like 4 or 5 different pairs of boots for motorcycling. It depends on my level of riding that day, if there's going to be mud involved. But
yeah,
I get that. Oh, let's talk to our friend Carl.
Yes, I have a question for you when you pop up, young man.
Whisper. Good evening, sir.
I've been mentioned like 3 or 4 times, and then people are DMing me saying, "Hey, they're talking about you in Facts Live." Hey, by the way, awesome thing you did with her name escapes me. Just Sarah.
Sarah.
I was gonna say Sandy, and I was like, I don't think it's Sandy, it's Sarah. I saw that video, and super awesome, man. Like, seriously, that's awesome.
Appreciate that.
So questions, huh?
Well, I mean, I would like we've officially launched.
Yep.
Thanks to your guidance and assistance, sir. Much appreciated. The link is live in my link tree, and I'm humbled by it. The fact that we have some merch available for people who want to take part, and I think there's been some suggestions flying all around. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I just wanted to thank you personally, as
No,
we
absolutely.
talked about it today, for your help.
Yeah, thank you for letting me be your merch guy. Like for real. Like it's pretty cool. That was the whole goal of my small business, is to be the merch guy for all sorts of creators. It gives me something that I love to do. It's a great hobby. It gives me reason to use the very expensive suite of apps that I had bought years ago. And it makes my wife happy every time we make a sale due to that. So
Awesome.
it's pretty awesome.
So, Anthony, did you have a question for our friend?
You know, um, and we could talk offline, but what I'm thinking is an Easy Rider style logo with me in a cartoon face. I got the hair,
Yeah.
right?
Send me a
So
couple
I'm
of selfies. I'll draw it up.
okay. Cool. Thank you.
Can make that happen.
Oh,
Appreciate
I
you
can't
because
wait for that.
I
That's
mean,
totally. I'm
listen,
thinking. What's the Nicolas Cage movie? Whenever he turns into the skull with
Ghost Rider.
oh,
Ghost
Ghost
Rider.
Rider.
That's what you need.
All right.
No, I could definitely you send me ideas and I'll throw them up. Like
Okay.
that's the whole thing. I do want to say so far, lots of people visiting. I would be curious to get your audience's input specifically on why I had like 55 visitors but no purchases. Are the prices wrong? Is there something going on with that? What can we do to make that an easier thing?
We can ask. I'm
Yeah.
going to do a video about it as a reminder, but it's only been up for a few hours. But I think people are I think people are so engaged in listening to Anthony and I talk,
Yes.
so that they
That's
just
fair.
don't want to they don't want to move away from the app to do anything like that. I'm obviously kidding. Um, but that's a fair question. Oh, let's see.
Yeah.
There you go. We've got a couple of people already ready to make the purchase. Katie, it's in the link in my bio. Link tree in my bio. The first link you'll see once you click into the link tree is the merch store. You can go there. There's a lot of cool stuff, including coffee mugs and T-shirts and hoodies and all kinds of great stuff. All
Hats
at
coming
Magic Tape.
soon.
Hats coming soon.
So
I'll be
Fax
modeling
has
at some point.
Fax has
Yep.
a hat coming through.
Yep.
It's really weird. So sometimes the embroidery on certain logos is just off. And so before I offer some of those types of things, some of those certain products, I like to get at least a sample out. So Fax has got a sample coming his way of the hat with the logo on it. Once we get the stamp of approval on that, I'll launch it and I'll put it up there. You have to be really careful with embroidery. Embroidery is really really weird.
Oh, here you go. I see the grammar police are out. So Dagny, what's for dinner needs an apostrophe. You're right about
Oh
that. It does. I
goodness.
noticed that too. We can fix that. That's easy.
Okay, I'll fix it.
Yeah, that's easy. Yep.
But yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to pop in and say, hey, the things that you've done for your community and the community that you've built, you earned every bit of it, and so I'm really glad that I can help you out and
Thanks, man.
be proud of yourself for that. And
I
you
appreciate
and Anthony are a great team, and hopefully Anthony and I will also be a great team here very soon on the outside.
May
Thanks.
I add
Appreciate that.
in code speak? Do you remember who I was having lunch with today?
Yes.
That was their answer. Uh-huh. So that particular institution would like to uh, engage
Ooh,
in
nice.
our services
Sorry, I was a little bit slow on the uptake there.
and would like to do a proof of concept run in where we take a couple of customers from point A to point B to get them through to the approval process.
Congrats,
I
buddy.
also mentioned your specific skill set, right?
Yes.
And they were like, oh, huh. So he could help with software companies that we already currently write. And I said, yes. I said, think about this. Everybody needs audit prep.
Yes.
And that is a service, a widget that we can spin up and provide. So for the record, that is two very large institutions in the exact same week that came to kiss the ring. No. That
Are we still
said,
sitting at like
Spend a
1.5 a year?
huh?
You're still sitting at like that estimated 1.5 a year. Is that what you're talking about still?
You guys
no,
take that
Code speak.
conversation up.
Yeah.
Code
Okay,
speak. We'll do this somewhere else.
we'll do that
Sorry, I got
yes.
really, really excited. This is a crazy one. So thank
Okay.
you once again. Thank you. I'm going to jump off of here.
Thank you, buddy.
Trump
Appreciate it.
sucks. If you're not
Indeed.
voting for Biden, you're making a mistake. And if you're a veteran and you're voting for Trump, come have a talk.
Thank
We
you,
can
brother.
fix that right up. You guys
Really
have a
appreciate
great one.
you very much. Thanks a lot, boss. Take care. Freaking cool. Well, you can fill me in at some point too, because now I'm intrigued. But we'll talk about that a different time.
Yeah. Hey, by the way,
Yeah.
Sometimes when you go out to lunch, I know you do business lunches, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever look down and go, oh, silverware and a cloth napkin? Shit, I'm in a
Well,
restaurant.
so-
I need to.
You know, I love my little state. I really, really do.
Yeah.
There are pockets within our little state that you do get a nice piece of cloth. Oftentimes you're looking for the paper towel. You know, the true elegance is when they have, like, you know, extra special malt vinegar at the table for your French fries. Then you know you're in a classy joint. Or, you know, you're asked to wear your best flannel prior to entering. Listen. I mean, we're supposed to get another like 8 inches of snow tomorrow. So,
bro, I've got my
I can
window
appreciate
open
the
and
love.
I'm sweating right now.
Sweating.
Literally, I'm
Oh.
sitting. Remember, I'm always in like gym shorts and a t-shirt when I'm on
Yeah,
live, and
yeah,
I've
yeah.
you know got adult clothes on. Yeah. Hey,
We met Fin Man last night.
last night. Yep.
Good evening, Fin Man. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Can't really hear you very well. You need to get a little closer to your mic.
All right. Let me turn my volume up. Can you hear me now?
Something's going on there. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Just speak up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I the live tonight. It's interesting and it's impactful. It's
Still having a hard time hearing you, Fin Man. We really want to hear you. I know you have a lot of great things to say, but we just need you to. We either need to step up your mic a little bit, or get a little bit closer, or just find a better spot to speak. Perhaps it's just really hard to hear you.
all right. Can you hear me now?
It's really quiet, bro. We can barely hear you.
All right. Can you hear me now?
It's not much better.
Let me go to my phone and I'll connect on there.
Yeah. Once you drop down and then request and come back up. Okay.
All right.
Okay. We'll talk to you in a minute.
All right.
El Camino, how are you tonight?
All right, Fax, how are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you. What is on your mind this evening?
Do you see that this election campaign for Trump and everything is it's kind of reminiscent? I think we pretty much seen this in 2015 or 2016 when he was running. He runs on fear. That's all. That's the only thing he did it. He did it 8 years ago, and he's doing it again. All he's spouting is fear that to his base that if we allow people in that don't look like us, we're doing harm to our country.
Yep. The poisoning the blood statement last week or a couple weeks back, you know, he talks about that all the time, referring to immigrants as they're not even people. I mean, that's the same rhetoric. You're right, El Camino. You're right.
Yeah, and I mean, we see, and what scares me though is he won on it, last time, because evidently it puts fear into people and it gets them believing into a non-truth. And I think this election coming up I thought the last one was important, but I think this one is head and shoulders above the last one for for the future of our country.
Yeah, we say every 4 years we say this is the most important election of our lives, and yeah, I mean I think 2020 obviously was extremely important, um, but I think this one is literally the future of democracy. Bless you, Anthony. I think this is the future of democracy, and I don't mean to be I do not mean to be hyperbolic, but I think it's the truth, quite frankly.
Well, in facts, and I'll leave you with this and everything. Is this one that much more important simply because of the I guess the unveiling of 2025 and Agenda 47?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. See, I've always thought, well, let me rephrase. I've come to the conclusion that Donald Trump isn't the threat. It's the people like the Heritage Foundation. It's the people that are promoting Christian nationalist agendas. Those are the people that are the threat. Trump is just the tool. He's a malignant narcissist who's not very smart, who can be easily manipulated by stroking his ego. So they're the ones that are the danger. People like Stephen Miller, people like Steve Bannon, people like that who will have his ear and will literally do their bidding. So yeah, I think 2025 is the Project 2025 is a footprint, the blueprint, and Agenda 47. Wanting to create internment camps to lock up houseless people, including veterans, doing away with the Department of Education, all the three-letter agencies under the control of the executive. Yeah, I do think it's extremely dangerous.
All right, and the last thing, facts, and I'll go ahead and click out. Well, click me out after this if you don't mind,
Sure,
please.
you got it. Buddy.
I think it's racism has always existed in this country. It's always been there.
Yep.
What Trump has done has given it a voice, and that scares me because he has made it a talking point to be, this is who we are and we should be like this.
Yeah, you're right. He's never mind, the voice. He's like the megaphone. He's like the Marshall Stacks of promoting racism. He's got the biggest bully pulpit in the world. Yeah, you're right, Camino. You're right, brother. Thank you very much for your commentary. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Fact.
You got it, buddy. Have a good night. Yeah, it's that rhetoric. That's the danger. That's what I don't want it to sound hyperbolic that this is the most important elections of our lives, but we didn't know what we were facing. We all knew who Donald Trump was back in 2016. We all knew who he was, but I don't think any of us could have ever predicted what we're talking about right now, right? The fact that it's maybe some, I think we knew his fascistic tendencies, but when we see people of high-ranking officials in our government bending a knee to that type of ideology, they literally do not care about democracy. That's the worst part.
Yeah. It's interesting. Here we go. Yeah. Part 2.
That's interesting. Hello. Interesting is to say the least. Hey, there you go.
Hello. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. It was my iPad.
Don't sweat.
Great topic tonight.
Cool.
And
welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
I will say I was never in the military. I backed the military 100%. When I see a person that goes into the store, like the other day, I saw a guy and his wife. They didn't even hold the door for a veteran, and I said to my mom, I was like, that's disrespect. Come on now. At least when I go out, I hold the door. I say thank you, this, and this. It's just sad. It's sad to me. And it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think people I won't speak for Anthony. I think people show their respect to people who serve in a variety of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I know from conversation with my brother, he doesn't want the, thank you for your service unless it's sincere.
Yeah.
So coming from somebody who supports Donald Trump, it doesn't feel like a thank you, doesn't it, Anthony? It feels more like a tokenizing in a way.
And the other thing is like you see I see it most of the time. And and when you go to a baseball game, you see service members there. And the thing is, when the fans are just sitting down during that national anthem, I'm like, come on now. I can't begin to think, like, at least stand up for 2 minutes. That man was probably overseas, couple tours and all that, fighting for this good country, and at least just show your respect.
Do you think somebody making a decision to sit during the national anthem is disrespectful to the country?
Not, I mean, if they want to sit out, then they can, but no, not really. I mean, it's to me, it's probably just their choice. But I don't want to say something to them like you can't do that. But it's their choice, though.
Because we can go back to the Colin Kaepernick situation specifically. So
Yeah.
What was your reaction during that time? As you're going on this journey that you told us about last night that you're on. So when you saw that, what was your initial reaction to that?
I was actually happy to see a stance of police abusing their power, and it's like you gotta do something about it. It just has to be done, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad to hear you say that.
I didn't know what it was for at first until I was reading into it. I was like, he's not doing it in a bad way. He's doing it for a good way. I didn't know about that though. That's the other thing I didn't know.
The fact that he seeked counsel from a vet, and the vet advised him like the best way for you to do this would be to kneel. Because Anthony, can you help? So the significance of kneeling specifically is considered more patriotic in many ways, right? Or I'm not going to use those words, but
yeah. So here's the thing about kneeling. Kneeling is a sign of respect. When you present the folded flag to the family of the fallen, you kneel, and then there's a little thing that you say to that family, and you do it kneeling, and you always do it kneeling. Also, for those members of the military that are Christian, the first thing that the priest or the reverend or whatever their title is, that Christian leader is going to have everybody take a knee in prayer. So there's that. But let's just back up if we could for a second. So here's kind of the thing about the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem. Those are actually antithetical to signs of patriotism. In that if you force people to participate, that is not freedom, right?
True.
That is what they do in North Korea, and what they did in China for the longest time, what they did in the former Soviet Union, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
The courts have stated, and it is a fact, that no one makes a pledge of allegiance to anything. That all of this stuff is just made up, right? The national anthem just happens to be our song. Unfortunately, it's related to an incredibly racist poem, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So the worst part about the Pledge of Allegiance, in my opinion, is that I think it was like 1954, they inserted "under God" because of fear of communism, right? So people conflate how they grew up with the actual fact. The fact of the matter is, the court has upheld time and time again, you cannot force a student to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. You cannot make anyone stand for the national anthem. I will tell you, I sit. I refuse to participate until all people who are citizens, applying for citizens, or in some sort of protective status have equal rights. Until that happens, I'm not saying the Pledge of Allegiance and I'm not standing for the national anthem because they don't represent anything. They certainly don't represent facts on the ground or the truth.
Do you remember when you made that decision?
That's my opinion.
Do you remember when you made that decision?
Was it
1994 specifically?
Something occur?
I was a student at Brandeis University, and I took a class in the African American Studies department, and the class was titled "Slavery and the West." And it's when I learned for the very first time as an adult about slavery, the entire history, right? That was also the year I was finally discharged from the Navy. My time was up. And I distinctly remember that all of the things I had grown up believing in and that I thought were true turned into shame and disgust when I learned the truth. And it was at that moment in that classroom, and I can't remember the professor's name, but I have his book here on my bookshelf. And I remember talking to him after I graduated about how that moment was pivotal in my life and how it had transformed how I would go about critically thinking about the United States, my rights versus other people's lack of rights. And I've never swayed from that. So, I really would like to see the end of a Pledge of Allegiance. That's not what this country is about. And I would really like it if we could get rid of that national anthem. I think it's time for a new one because you have to understand the history of the entire thing. You can't just take two stanzas and make a song and then think it's fucking great. Again, we have spent the last 141 years going around the world and toppling governments, stealing land, stealing resources in the name of the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem. Does that make you feel any better when you know about that? About how when the country was formed, slavery was legal and most of our founding fathers owned people? Like, how does that make you feel? I hope as a human being you feel a little dirty, a little disgusted, right? So anyway, I don't want to get on my soapbox.
No, thanks for that, bro. So, Pinman, is there anything else on your mind this evening?
Just with what Anthony was just saying on the last part, the how our country was founded and built by slavery. It's sad, and it's just horrifying. It's just crazy stuff that they don't teach you. Stuff they don't teach you fully in the history books. Now we got to go out and go find it ourselves. It's crazy.
Which is again one of the as you're continuing your journey, right? We know that there's all sorts of assaults on education from the right. We know that they do not want history taught. They do not want to address the fact of our history or the fact that our entire system is built on systemic racism and dominated by white supremacy in so many ways, and the fact that we so many want to just ignore that. I mean, when you have a major party candidate for president, when asked the cause of the Civil War, and they couldn't answer the question.
Yeah.
She knew the answer to the question. She just
but
chose
just didn't
not
want to
to.
tell it.
Correct.
Now,
Exactly.
now is this true? Like the history that was in my history books, your history books, and Anthony's history books. Now they're slowly starting to take that out, or are they taking it out fully, or are they
I
just
don't think it's
going
that they're
to?
taking it out. It's more omission than
Okay.
anything else. There's just so many pieces that they're just not teaching.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm guilty of that too. Like I was unaware of so much growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware of Black Wall Street. I wasn't aware of the Tulsa massacre. I just didn't know those things. And I'm not blaming someone. That's just where our society was at that time, informing. I made the decision to learn more because it was important to me. I wanted to know where it
Yeah.
came from. I think
Even
it's probably one of the reasons why human rights are so important to me because I see these things like, why the fuck did I not know this stuff?
yeah.
Right? And that's been part of my personal journey.
And I've been recently watching documentaries on Black Wall Street, the Tulsa massacres, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, a
Yeah.
white person came into their city and just was like, hey, this is how you're gonna run it, and just did this, and
Pretty
this,
much.
and it's just sad.
Pretty much.
It's like
Yeah.
I was looking at history last night when I got off the show with you guys. The after the Civil War, slavery was abolished in 1865, I assume, and there were some slave plantation owners. They didn't tell the slaves for 15, 20, 30 years afterwards, and it's like
Texas.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
How can
Texas.
how can they do that?
Emancipation was hidden from so many
That's
because they could.
that's sad.
That's the yeah. Again, that's I appreciate you saying that, man, and that's part of the journey that we all should be on. So,
Oh yeah.
thank you for jumping in tonight, bro. We
Oh yeah.
appreciate that. We're glad we connect with you as always.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate that.
Hey, thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah.
I'll still drop down and I'll listen to you. And you guys always inform me a lot. You guys help me
Cool.
out a lot.
We appreciate that, brother. You're welcome.
Journey's
anytime,
beginning.
please.
Thank you.
Good for you. And we should always be on it. Thank you, brother.
All
Appreciate
right, thank you guys.
Got it, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, the importance of having conversations about pushing back against the things that we don't know. It's like, it's one thing to say you're against racism, but are you anti-racism? Are you acting on it? Are you participating in events that would support oppression, whatever it might be, whether it be racism and or bigotry and or transphobia, homophobia? Are you standing up for the rights of others? I've made it. People know where I stand on these kinds of things, and I will stand 10 toes down in defending the rights of others, and I've done it most of my adult life, and I'll continue to do it. But many people, I would like to think, again, this is the Pollyanna nature of my personality, seeing the glass half full. I would like to think that if people were exposed to more history, they might have an evolution in their journey of discovery of their own self-worth and self-awareness. I'd like to think that. Maybe that's naive of me. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the last 2 weeks has shown us that people are willing to come along for the ride. So, baby steps, got to crawl first.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Shit, I'll take it. It's a win. Right?
It is a win. Again,
and not for us.
It doesn't take much.
For them. That's who wins, right?
Correct.
We just get a little validation and people can't stop looking at our hair and your beard. And I mean, we get it. We're distracting and we're sorry, ladies. But listen, this is just the way it is, okay?
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, right. I mean, blame my parents. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Well, we've got a few minutes left. The box is wide open. If anybody wants to come up and talk about whatever's on their mind, we would be happy to chat, or we can end early. But we'll see if the chat lights up. In the next couple of minutes, we'll bring guests up. We've got Nikki. She'll request. She wants to join us and tell us what's on her mind. Hello. Again.
Tell you a story about what my mom did for veterans.
Okay, please do.
My mom was a teacher. And my mom was a teacher during the time when they were being drafted for Vietnam. and she was teaching seniors in high school. And I didn't find this story out until after she passed away at her funeral. My brother told me. She had an entire class full of senior boys. And as soon as they all finished class, they were going to graduate and all eligible for the draft. And if they failed, they had to stay back for summer school. And if they failed the class and had to go to summer school, they were not allowed to be drafted until they finished. My mom failed every single boy in that class. Every single one. Passed every girl, but failed every single boy in that class. So I didn't find that out till after she died. My brother told me when we were sitting there talking about stories that, she would tell one story or one another story. And I was surprised that I never heard that, because my grandfather's the one that taught me my patriotism and to be proud of my country, which is why I'm very with Anthony. You're a traitor, and I hate the word that they use, the word patriot, because they're not. But when I found out that she did that, the thought came to my head of, I wonder how many kids are now here because their dads didn't go away, or weren't killed over there, or how many families were affected by their kids staying home.
It's too bad that you had to find that out much later. It would have
Yeah,
been
I had good stories too. we found out that we each had good stories that she didn't tell the other one.
Right, but I guess what I mean, it would have been interesting to find out, what she was thinking at that moment. It doesn't matter, because obviously she made the right decision. But I'm just curious.
She didn't believe in the war. She didn't think.
No, I get that, but just her thought process, sort of going through it, and how obviously it's an extreme step to take, right? To do something like that, So good for her. Good on her. Good on her.
It was a different time. I was adopted, so at that time it was it's a whole different world. And she sued to get maternal leave when I was little, and they didn't give it to her because they said that she didn't have me. So, but yeah, that I thought that was great.
It is great. It is great. Thank you, Nikki, for sharing that story. We appreciate that.
It was a great life.
Indeed.
It was a really great live. I think you guys had amazing people up here today.
Yeah, a lot of good stories. A lot of good, I think just good reminders, and the impact that these little moments can have on people's lives unexpectedly. And then obviously we still need to remind our veteran friends about their. I'm not sure if they've lost their way. I'm going to stop trying to dissect it and try to understand it. I just think we need to continue to remind people that it's
absolutely, it
has to change. So thank you.
And you
Nikki.
have to remember that your contribution to this is not nothing.
Thank you.
I'm not kidding. Like Anthony says, you huff and you're like, oh, I'm just here. You're not just here. Your name's above your head. People are gonna be wearing your freaking icon on their chest that says, fuck your feelings. It's not just, you're not just here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thanks.
I love you too, Anthony. Tell your wife I said hi.
Thanks. Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it, friend. Okay. Sorry. Good evening, Rev.
How you gentlemen doing today?
We are well. How are you,
awesome.
sir?
Oh, could be better, could be worse. Yeah. Actually, though, sure. I mean, because you said we're coming at the end, and so I was just curious on something since everybody's already been talking about everything else. So, Anthony, you said you were stationed at Clark.
No, I was at Clark to pick up some stuff, so I had to stay for a little bit.
Oh, okay. If you don't mind me asking, can you tell me what year you were there?
87, 89.
Okay. No, because I was living in Subic
Oh,
from 87 through 88.
What part of the Subic base were you on? Were you down on the dock side or over by the shit river side?
I was up in the hills.
Okay. Okay. And by the way, that is not
So
a derogatory term. It literally was like an
yeah,
open sewer.
it was
So
just open sewer.
hence
Yeah, no, I
hence
remember
the
that.
shit river comment.
Yeah, I remember. No, it's,
Dude, that is crazy. So you were in the Navy, I assume.
well, my dad was.
Oh my god. Okay, now I'm
Heat
feeling
Army.
fucking old. You were a dependent living in
Yeah,
the Philippines when I was in the
yeah,
Philippines in the Navy.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
God.
Big
I
small
mean,
world.
well, also just well, exactly. I
Small
think
world, and where's my walker? Get off my
right.
lawn!
But I think but I also think that's one of the beautiful things about the military and even post military is, you know, yeah, you realize how small of a world it really is. And you know, what's funny is that I actually have there's another content creator on here. She was in the Navy, but we were on a live together, and she started talking, and she talked about how her dad was on the USS Abraham Lincoln, but that was my dad's last ship. So
Oh.
I was like, well, when was your dad on there? And she goes, oh, he was on there from 91 through 94. My dad retired in 94 after 22.
Yeah.
So that meant her dad was on the ship at the same time I was. And we were living in close proximity to each other and didn't even know it. And what was even funnier was my dad, and I actually ended up finding out my dad was her dad's boss.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Kind of got goosebumps. That's wild.
Right. Yeah. So that's why I was just like, oh, I heard you were in Clark. I was like, oh my God, somebody else who understands like
Let me
the
ask
beauty
you.
that is that country.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, Rev. Did you fall in love with Filipino food in the same way I fell in love with Filipino food?
Okay, so can I tell you a quick little anecdote?
Hit me,
please.
With that, okay. So growing up over there, my dad was an officer, so we had a little extra money, and we did have help that helped us out around the house. So we had a maid slash babysitter who helped out, but she would often cook us food. When I tell you that chicken adobo is my number one favorite damn dish in this world,
yeah,
there's a reason for it.
Yeah. And the aunties over there know how to freaking cook, dude.
Yes,
and if
they
you get
do.
Here's what I've learned from being in the military. When you are in another country and a family invites you over for dinner, that's a big fucking deal.
Yes, it is.
And you better go hungry.
Yeah, right.
Cause it's on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Right. I remember, like, I never had chicken or pork skewers like that. I never had pancit. I never had lumpia. I never had various adobos. Right.
Oh.
And when you don't know, you're like eating everything, and then all of a sudden, you know, when you mix a lot of sauce and rice and San Miguel beer, your stomach kind of has some things going on.
Very much.
And you know how hot and humid it is over there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
If you're not used to it, right? And so you end up drinking San Miguel beer like it's Kool-Aid, because when I was there, it was like 30 cents a bottle.
Uh-oh. Well, the price hadn't changed much. Okay, so
Bobby's with cheap beer. Danger.
So my brother ended up going to play professional basketball in the Philippines.
Cool.
And in 2001, which was a very surreal experience, because my 21st birthday present was him flying me out and spending 2 weeks over there.
Nice.
Wow. So I actually got to experience that young man of San Miguel and all the food and a plethora of other things. But the surreal experience over there was I was over there during 9/11.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that was a surreal experience. But
Because all the
yeah, so
bases were almost all the bases were shut down at that time, right?
yeah, all of it was shut down. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so it was. But when we would go out to the bar, happy hour over there, San Miguel Light was only 25 cents a bottle.
Oh man.
So it hadn't gotten much better, but oh no, but the anecdote I was going to say, so I live in Oregon, and I was I was at work one day, and
Okay.
a new Filipino restaurant had opened up right down the street. So of course I had to go. Try it out.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, I ordered the chicken adobo, and I took a bite. And when I tell you I started almost crying, I'm not lying, because it tasted almost identical to my auntie's chicken adobo from the Philippines. And it just brought back all those memories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'm
going to ping you offline because I used to live there.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
In that state. So, yeah. Fuck. Damn it. Now I gotta. So I'm very fortunate that there's a store near me that has Filipino food, a grocery store, and they also prepare it.
Nice.
And they have Sarsi soda also. So I'm gonna have to go there this weekend and relive some memories now.
Well, I'm heading up.
I'm
to
officially
Seattle
out of the
this
club,
week.
apparently, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm going to be up in Seattle this weekend with my girlfriend, and
nice.
We're getting away for the weekend and go spend a couple days up there. But at Pike's Market, there's this little hidey hole that's a Filipino eatery, and she's never had Filipino food. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we're going, we're gonna go there.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
thanks, Rev.
Thanks, Rev.
Yeah, no, not a problem.
Anthony could take a little journey down memory lane there. That was
absolutely.
I followed you too there, Rev.
Oh yeah, I'll follow you back, Anthony.
Appreciate you.
Hey, you appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Be well.
Thanks for making me feel like I'm 85.
That's kind of fun. Yeah. Well,
How crazy is that? He's a
sometimes.
kid. I'm in the military. We're both in the Philippines on the same base.
Dude, doesn't matter. Gen X. I mean, come on. They're all jealous. That's the problem.
I'm just saying.
That's what it is.
What were the chances? Is what I'm saying.
I know.
Right?
See, it's easy for us because we can blame everything on boomers, but millennials and Gen Z can't blame anything on us because they know how cool we are. They literally know that we are the bridge from analog to digital.
Yeah.
We
invented shoulder tapping. You're welcome.
Totally. We can navigate party lines with telephone calls.
Yes.
We're the ones that got our parents to buy the extra long cord because the phone was in the kitchen and then we could go into our room.
That's right.
And I remember my dad would be like, he would come down the hall, he wasn't happy, he would just chop it.
Slap it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We're just the best. I don't know what else to say.
And also, children, we had these things on the television. It was called an antenna. And sometimes you would attach a piece of aluminum foil to the antenna so that the entire 4 channels we were allowed to have access to.
Right.
Perhaps you could use the UHF channel finder with some aluminum foil and be able to
dial it in a little bit.
You had to fine tune it, right?
Yep.
Just like a radio.
Sure.
And that is how we got the following show.
Good one. Benny Hill. Yeah. So and then
Thank you.
And then the remote control in our house was me.
Right.
Go change the channel. God damn it! Again, I was just comfortable.
Get the ears just right.
Yeah, I was comfortable in my Snuggie. I had to get up off the couch and go change the channel. We just lamented. For the people who are like, really? We just watched the numbers drop by 300 as we're going down Gen X journey.
It's all right.
Hi, Bunny. welcome to our show.
Hey, don't forget the sleepover chain.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
sleepovers.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, it was the chain. Like you
Chain.
or yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get that one.
That was fun.
Yeah, I just
What is on your mind this evening?
I just wanted to say these past couple of weeks have been great. We've had some hallelujah moments. Stories that has made me cry. And Sarah, I probably should have warned you about her. This literally happened today for her. Because last night she was in my live and we were talking and everything, and some people were giving her advice too, and same advice you guys were giving. And literally today she messaged me, I found a place. So I'm so happy for her. And if it's not for you guys being here and platforming the way you do, these hallelujah moments wouldn't be happening.
Thank you for saying that, Mike. I appreciate that.
And I also want to send a message out to all the ladies that are here. Hands off, the clown is mine.
Oh! Well, there you go. It's on, apparently. It's on. Okay. Does the clown know? That's what I want to know. Okay. All right.
Oh, he's actually my co-host with me for a couple of nights during the week.
Excellent.
So
excellent.
That was a very strong declarative statement.
It certainly was. It stands with a fist, so to speak.
Oof. Yeah.
Well,
thank
you for your kind words, Bunny, and please keep us posted on the whatever's happening there. I mean, it sounds like an episode of Bunny After Dark, quite frankly, but
hey now,
coin that phrase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm thinking bunnies and clowns, and my mind just went to a very interesting place.
Yeah, mine did too. Thanks.
All right, okay.
Oh, the 70s.
Thank you, Benny. All right. See you later. Bye.
What happened to Anthony? Anthony slipped into a world we're not familiar with.
Yeah, Cat Juice is like, well, this just got deep. Oh, it did get deep.
Yeah, bottle cap.
I'm going to leave that right there. So, sir, in our traditional fashion, how would you like to sum up this evening?
Yeah. It's important to talk about feelings, actual feelings. And that's why when you asked me, I thought, well, I'll get honest, because again, my first thought is a felony, my second thought is anger, and my third thought is don't do it. But you asked me why, and the why is it hurts me. And I think it's important to be vulnerable enough and to be adult enough and to be man enough, quite frankly, to be willing to admit that things do impact us and that things do hurt. Not because I need empathy or sympathy. I do not. But I need to be an example and a role model for the type of men I'd like to see come behind me. Right? Because the days of rubbing dirt on it are gone. The days of worshiping John Wayne are gone. Another draft dodging coward.
Good point.
So, thank you all for participating. Thank you for coming up. Sorry that we ran some of you off. But listen, we're two dudes in our late 30s. And, sometimes we just...
Still.
I cannot tell a lie, but I just did. Anyway, thank you, my friend.
Yeah, buddy.
Thanks for the laughs today.
Sure.
Thanks for allowing me to be in a pinky purplish button-up shirt. I apologize. It'll never happen again.
Perhaps it might be an opportunity for me to up my game as well. So I'll take that to heart.
Okay.
Good looking color on you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you got it. So again, thank you everybody for tonight. We never know where these conversations are going to go. It's impactful for me, and I've been reminded by person that I care about how um, people appreciate what we do, and I don't perhaps how am I going to put this? I don't always do a good job of accepting compliments. I'll put it right that way. So I'm working on that. It's part of the evolution. So I'm humbled by people when they say good things about me, and I'm humbled by it and the work that we do here. So the impact that we made on Sarah's life, I take that. It matters to me, and I really, really, it matters to me. I want y'all to know. I don't try to blow it off. It's just humility gets in the way, and I'll leave it right there. So thank you for everybody for saying those kind words. We really have worked hard to kind of create an environment where people can have conversations about all kinds of things. Sure, it gets crazy sometimes, and sure, it's do I get satisfaction from exposing people who I believe are bigots, cowards, racist pieces of shit? Yes, I do. No doubt about it, because sunlight is the best disinfectant, and we'll continue to do it. But I would trade all of those for conversations like we have this evening, when you have an opportunity to kind of inform people or provide information that they may not have had, or just a willingness to hear about somebody's journey, or more importantly, for people whose lives we have touched. They've decided that they needed to change things up. They took our advice, and they now the grass is greener, literally. So it's worth it. It's worth it. So thank you everybody for tonight. Taking tomorrow evening off because I'm going to see a Led Zeppelin tribute band with some friends of mine. Yes, correct. That's right. And it's actually fronted by a woman who's got an incredible voice. It's amazing, and they're really, really fun. So I'll be enjoying that. As another reminder, thank you to Crow for jumping up earlier. Merch shop is live, and I really want feedback. This is the first time I've ever done this before in my life. So if there's feedback about it, I would appreciate that. Again, thank you everybody. Thank you mods for a wonderful night. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace out. Be well.
Peace.